Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Wednesday once again, and here we are with another episode.
Yep. This one was actually recommended by Zach.
I'm pretty sure, Zach, you were the one that recommended this, and you said you love the thumbnail art. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yes, I know people don't like AI and stuff like that. I did do that in AI, but I just cracked up when it popped out the other end of the generator. I'm like, oh my god, that's fucking perfect. It came out really good the first time.
Yeah, I think Zach recommended it, and the patrons voted on it, and this won.
Yeah, by quite a significant margin. And the thing about it is that I knew about the Lisa Frank company. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, especially if you were a girl or if you had, younger siblings like I did, the shit was, ubiquitous. You know what I mean? Her artwork. It's technically not all her artwork, but you know what I mean? All the company's artwork, especially, on school supplies and stuff. And so it was really hard to avoid it. And like most people, I probably... I didn't know about all of the shit, the shenanigans that was going on behind the scenes. This is definitely, I think the reason why people got so fascinated by this is just because it's kind of one of those, pal right in the childhood kind of moments where a lot of people that, especially girls that grew up in the 90s in particular, have a lot of fond memories of this artwork, and it's nostalgia and all this other stuff. And then they find out that this really wasn't a great company to work for. They were pretty shitty. Lisa Frank and her husband, ex-husband now, were not super great people, which we'll get into. So I think the juxtaposition of this super happy, colorful, whimsical artwork, oh, it's super fun, and that was the image that they were trying to portray, and then meanwhile all of this horrible shit was going on at the actual company.
It's a very American story.
Yeah, big time. I'm not really sure how much. I don't know how global a reach their stuff had. But I said, if you were a kid in the 80s or 90s, you really couldn't avoid the artwork. It was everywhere.
Yeah, I used to see that artwork, and I just thought it was generic because it was so common. I didn't think that was a brand.
Yeah, and it's an actual person. Lisa Frank is an actual person.
I never heard of that name. I remember seeing all that.
Yeah, like I said, you couldn't avoid it, even if you didn't know the name.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a brand. I just thought that was just some generic shit.
The look. Yeah.
That it was just in style. But it's funny. But having watched some documentaries on them and listened to the husband's interviews and have him talk about the company. It's just a very American, and it's very corporate culture, and it's kind of corporate culture done wrong.
Yeah, all the worst aspects.
The worst aspects of American culture, and it's kind of it reminded me very much of the Church of Scientology.
Yeah, same. I was just going to say the same thing.
Same thing, because it was imagine some American dude who's just kind of average intelligence, maybe a little bit above average intelligence, decides to make a fucking religion, and he's a science fiction writer, and then he turns it into kind of like a corporate business and runs it like a corporate business. It's kind of like that. They're selling artwork to girls and things to girls, and it's just kind of corporate as hell. And neither one, this couple or L. Ron Hubbard, neither one of them had experience running corporations and businesses, and not much experience with people, and they just saw what other corporations would do. They just say whatever came out of their mouth, and you just fucking ruined a lot of people. And that was one thing. Before and after the time I went out, well, mostly after coming out of the Army, I had to work in places that were just corporate. I fucking hated it. I don't understand why people were fighting for those jobs.
Because they needed to eat?
Well, now they needed to eat, but a lot of them wanted to climb a fucking corporate ladder because they thought...
Yeah, see that? I don't understand.
They thought that you would become rich. It's very unlikely you become rich working for a corporation. Only the guys at the very, very top make a lot of money. You're lucky to make 6 figures a year, and if you're making 6 figures a year, they're running you into the ground, and you're constantly afraid of losing your job because they'll replace you instantly.
Yeah, and like I said,
that's really what it's all about.
I think people, like I said, responded to the story. A lot of companies are run shittily like this.
Yeah.
Even though this company was actually quite successful for a very long time, they made billions of dollars over the time they were big. But I kind of feel like I said, I think people were fascinated by this in particular just because it was such a beloved brand. I think a lot of people back then didn't even know that like Lisa Frank was a real person. She was actually the person that started the company and blah blah blah. But also they didn't know all the shit that was going on. So like if you have Amazon Prime, back in 2024 they had a 4-part docuseries, which was called Glitter and Greed, the Lisa Frank story, and it dives quite a bit into a lot of the stuff. If anything, it left some shit out. You know what I mean? So it wasn't quite as bad as I think like because I read some quotes like from other employees and stuff. I'm like, man, they didn't mention that in the documentary. But
we're talking about Alex Murdoch. Who's that?
The guy that we did the show about last week, the dude that killed his wife and son, and that guy. Yeah, somebody sent me a message earlier today and said, they're going to give him a new trial. Like the conviction got overturned. And I think when we did the show, I guess it was last week, and I had been watching like a couple legal experts like that day. They had just put that video up like a day or two before, and they were saying, he'll probably get his conviction overturned or get a new trial at least. And I was like,
you're talking about the
great,
the attorney.
Yeah,
the rich Southern attorney guy.
Yeah. So that's not great, obviously, but we'll see how it goes. So
he'll probably lose again.
I imagine he probably will. Like I said, there's just too much circumstantial evidence. I don't really know who he's saying like actually did it. You know what I mean? It's all that. But yeah, Zach said, "Are you going to talk about that makeup company she fucked over too?" Oh yeah, absolutely. Because that just goes to show. Here's the thing, on the documentary Glitter and Greed, a lot of allegations have been made not just on the documentary but just in general, have been made against James Green, who was her husband for a while and also the CEO for quite a long time, and how his let's call it his abrasive management style. Okay, so we're gonna say that, and so he's actually on the documentary being interviewed like quite extensively, which is fair because, like I said, a lot of allegations were made against him. Yes, he can come out and speak for himself. Lisa Frank did not want to be on the thing, so they didn't say anything. She didn't say anything about herself. However, in my opinion, I think this kind of backfired on him because he comes across as a really unlikable douchebag. And I just kind of feel like, that's just my opinion. And so I kind of feel like, man, now I'm kind of thinking you probably came on here trying to clear your name or none of that shit happened or anything like that. But now it's just making it seem more likely that all the shit that people said about you is probably true. I'm not saying Lisa Frank was a great person either. I think she's kind of also like a piece of shit. But I think he's a slightly bigger piece of shit than she is.
I don't know. I saw the guy I was just entirely neutral about him because there's a lot of guys that are like that.
I know, but that doesn't mean that's good.
No, it's just the standard for that kind of culture.
He comes across as super douchey to me and super one of those fucks over other people and then cries victim. A cry bully. He came across as a cry bully.
He's a little bit like a cry bully, but he's also standard corporate upper management. Just fuck him. Fire that person. Oh, well, hey, you're here to work. He's just one of those.
And I mean,
there's in Yankeedom, there's lots of those.
Well, I mean,
that's the way it is.
But the thing about it, though, is that in corporate culture, you have to understand that even in the 80s and 90s, when people were working here, it was bad even then. Like, people complained about, like, it was egregious even that era by corporate standards.
Yeah.
Like, people, like, the employee turnover was, like, ridiculous.
Super high,
like, way, way more than would be normal.
Yeah. I don't think they knew that was abnormal, though.
I don't think either of them should have really been running a business.
No, they should. Well, they should have had other people managing.
Or had other people that knew what they were doing do it. Because they definitely didn't know how to handle people or relate to people or get the best work out of people.
They didn't know how to talk to people.
Yeah,
they would tell them all kinds of crazy shit. Like, what?
It seemed like the only way they thought that they could get people to do what they were told was by threatening them.
It was fear. Yeah, they ran it through fear, and they basically,
which is never effective in the long term.
Jen will probably get into details, but basically what they were is their instructions were, you're here for us. You're here to work. Okay, fucking the number one thing is loyalty. Do not betray us.
Basically, they were big on that. Like I said, it was a little me a little culty.
We'll even forgive you you're stupid. They basically were saying, we know some of you are stupid. They're just,
like they just call.
They don't know how to
names.
talk to people.
No.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're never gonna get. And it made me so sad because they had some employees on there that were talking, and a lot of them were like super jazzed to like first start working there because they got to be artists, and at first it was like fun and kind of creative and all this other shit. But then you could see they were just getting slowly like more demoralized like as time went on. And I was like, why are they treating these fucking poor people like this? And this one guy that was on there was just kind of like, man, I almost like he thought about like kind of offing himself. You know what I mean? And I told Tom like when we were watching it. I said, I know how that feels because when I worked for those Scientology freaks like over in Clearwater, I used to like wake up in the morning and be like, oh shit, I woke up again. I was hoping I wouldn't, so I wouldn't have to go. And it's like nobody should have to work somewhere that makes them feel like that.
It's a prime example of what we used to call in the military toxic leadership.
Yes.
And it's where you have somebody who's a zero. They really come from nothing in life. They've never had any responsibilities whatsoever. Then all of a sudden they get a title and they put them in charge of people and they just fucking run amok.
Yeah.
And that's
that was definitely the case.
That's called toxic leadership, and that's what this is. These are people that you couldn't trust with any kind of power or authority.
And I'm
gonna not handle it. They don't know how to wield it. They've never had it.
I'm gonna say, like I said, I don't know either of these people, obviously. So whatever I'm saying, obviously take it with a grain of salt. This is just my personal opinion. By reading stuff they've said or like, watching interviews with them or whatever. Lisa Frank, I will say, very reclusive. She doesn't give a lot of interviews. She doesn't want to be on camera. There's only a couple of pictures of her like floating around. I know what she looks like.
That's because she can't talk.
But so
that's the only reason why she can't talk.
Yeah, so she doesn't want anybody to see her, and she just like keeps shit under wraps. Because Lisa Frank, it's still around, but it's not as big as it used to be. Yeah,
you'll ask questions she can't answer, so she can't talk.
Yeah, so she just like keeps shit on the DL. Yeah. But I'm gonna say like just from their interactions and what other people said about them and things like that. Lisa Frank, I thought, here's the thing. She came from wealth. She came from a very wealthy family. She was very privileged. She's a talented artist. She was a good businesswoman. She started the business and actually, grew it quite well on her own. I don't know if she had help from her family. I'm sure she probably did because that's how that works. But I think her problem was more that she was just like a little bit...
She became a queen.
And I think she was like a little bit flighty and a little bit like you. I don't think she was necessarily malicious at first. I think she did genuinely like want the product to be good and all this other kind of stuff. Maybe power corrupted later on. Now, James Green, I'm not sure that I can say the same thing about him because it kind of seemed like, he started working there and then he got made CEO and then it seemed like it just all went to his head. And he started saying, I fucking run this company. I made this company, even though it had been going on for a while before, and he was just an employee. And he was kind of trying to like take it off her. And like I said, I wasn't there. And like I said, she seemed kind of like a shitty person too. But
he fucked his way into an empire.
He definitely
he was a good looking guy.
Fucked his way to the top kind of situation.
He was a good looking guy.
Allegedly.
Yeah, he was a good looking guy, and the chick that ran it, what's her name, Lisa? He said.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lisa. Lisa was she wasn't ugly, but she was just a mid chick with a bunch of money and some talent. And he fucking did what sometimes men will do. You know what I mean? Fucking his explanation is actually kind of, we can get into that later, but his explanation, I think, is probably pretty true. He says, well, we were working together all the time. One thing led to another. That could happen.
Yeah.
But I think he also what he saw was that he had an end.
Yeah, I think it was a very transactional
so he's like,
relationship for him. He didn't seem all that.
I'm going to start sleeping with this chick and I'll just get more power. I'll run the company.
Yeah, and that's what ended up happening.
I don't think he was into her at all.
It didn't seem like, no. and like I said, I know they'd been, by the time we saw the interviews with him, they'd been divorced a while and it was very acrimonious, which we'll get into, but it's like, the fact that he couldn't even say anything nice about her, like in the back, and some of the shit that he said sounded kind of sideways, and it just sounded like he wasn't, like into it at all. Like it was her idea.
Yeah.
And all this other, like, I don't know, like just some of this.
She used me.
Like, yeah, some of the stuff that he said kind of sounded like that to me. Like I said, I don't know the guy. But he just came across as real douchey.
It's crybully.
And, like, yeah, he came across very, very crybully.
Crybully, yeah.
Kind of situation. And like I said, the fact that he allowed himself to be interviewed, I know he wanted to get his viewpoint out there, which, like I said, fair enough. But I don't think it did him any favors. I don't know if he sees it that way.
I find it to be just neutral.
But... Well, I don't know.
Exactly what I expected. That a lot of those dudes at that level are like that.
Well, yeah, and like I said, that's not great though. Like, a lot of those dudes are douchebags.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, they are douchebags. That's how they get to the top. You
Right.
got to be a dick to get that high up in a corporate power, and you got to crush a lot of people and stay dominant. You know what I mean? You see up and coming talent, you destroy it because it's a threat to you.
Yeah.
You want a bunch of fucking like mid people around you that are, and that's what they were doing. They're kind of getting off on the fact that they had power over people and that they could boss them around and they felt like celebrities.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a thing, and I think it was definitely a thing with him too because, and I'm gonna say allegedly, there was a lot of rumors which we'll get into about his drug use and things like that, and because people said his behavior was very erratic.
Yeah.
And shit like that. So I don't think he really knew how to run a company. He wasn't a businessman. He was also an artist. He started as an artist. That's what he was hired as.
Yeah.
And the thing about artists, and this is no shade because I'm also one, they don't generally make good business people. And I'm well aware of that. I wouldn't want to run a company. Fuck that. Like with employees and shit. I don't enjoy telling other people what to do. I don't get off on it.
No, that would mean you're a good boss, actually.
But yeah, so yeah, but I don't really want to do that. I'm not comfortable like telling other people what to do and
you can't
shit
do
like
that anymore. Shit's changed.
Yeah.
You have in most of these companies. First of all, they're stripped down little companies now. You can't have paper pushers anymore. They're all gone. You can't afford them. AI and laptops. The laptop computer changed the offices. You know what I mean? Fucking just people working from home and eliminated jobs. They're gone. They don't have paper pusher jobs or don't exist anymore. A lot of the management jobs are gone. But I forgot where I was going with this. You can't do this anymore to people like they used to do in the 90s because they'll leave and they'll just keep leaving. You have to have a little bit more of a...
Well, they did back then, too. It's just,
Right. But back then, you know what I mean? I think they had a larger pool of suckers some desperate people looking for jobs. Nowadays, these were mostly graphic designers. The graphic designers work from home on their laptops now. There's a bunch of different ways you can freelance that way.
Although, not going to lie, because that's what I do, and it's still like a hustle. It's very hard.
But it's better than just working in these offices that are toxic.
I wouldn't go back to that.
No. And they're just the workplace has changed. There has to they tend to run it a little more like collaborationist, where you got to be at work if you're supposed to be there, but they don't really kind of fucking do what they used to do. I remember what
I'm sure some places still do.
Some places might. But I don't think the employees would last long. They'd leave, and I think that's why H-1B visa people from India came in here because they'll take the abuse.
Yeah, and
they'll do that same job for less, and they'll take the abuse because they're used to it back in India.
Like I said, I will never understand why people think you're going to get better work out of people by just like fucking abusing them. When has that ever worked? It just never works. It works in the short term, maybe, because people are afraid of you.
I think a lot of it is just short.
Or afraid of losing their job, and that's all they care about. It's just short term thinking.
It's short term thinking. They're thinking about the next quarter. And
it's a problem.
Yeah, and they see all those executives as disposable, and that they can lay them all off. And if they're H-1B visa, that's even easier to get rid of them. So they're just going to use them up and then get rid of them.
Yeah.
They come here, they're trying to get the American dream through that visa. It doesn't work. I fucking talk to people who, like an Indian doctor that I know, the Indian doctor who knows all those people that go through the H-1B in this area, doing all this fucking writing code and shit. No matter what, even if they did a good job, in 18 months they got to go back home to India. And it's because they don't want to be unionizing over here. So as soon as they start figuring out what's going on, it's time for them to go back to India.
Well, a lot of companies will do that, not just with people on visas. Yeah. They will do that with people here. If you get to a point where, you know, you need a full-time job or you need more hours, they'll be like, nope, we're just going to like we'll hire 2 part-time people so they don't have to give you benefits, see?
Yeah, there's all kinds of shit. So
way cheaper.
So these guys are coming here thinking they're going to get the American dream. No, you're getting the American nightmare. They're basically importing you in here as an indentured servant, like a slave. And that's how they're thinking of you. Yeah. They're going to use you up for 18 months and they're going to send you back to India.
Just a cog in the machine, baby. Yeah.
And they're going to do to you what an American wouldn't put up with. For pay that.
And then they wonder why like younger people are just like, fuck all these corporations.
It's like, fuck that job. Because they know.
Because they know that they're getting treated like that. Yeah. Why the fuck do you want to get treated like that?
You hear boomers fucking clown. They don't want to work. And it's not the same jobs that you had.
No.
It's not what,
Yeah, it's not like you worked for a company that like you worked there for 40 years and they gave you a pension and all this other kind of shit. No. That does not exist anymore, boomers.
That went away in me and Jen's time.
Yeah, that wasn't even a thing when we were younger.
Yeah.
So it's like, our age and younger got really used to like, well, I'll stay here for a little, as long as I can take it, and then I'm fucking off out of here.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can get ahead.
That's the only way you can get ahead.
You can't stay with one company forever unless it's like a really, really good one, and there's just not a lot of those anymore.
Yeah.
And pensions, I don't even know of any corporations that offer. I'm sure a few do.
Oh, they got a system there, but you'll never be able to access it. They're going to fire you long by time
That's what I mean. So it's just like they have no loyalty to you, so why should you have any to them? I don't understand why you would. You know what I mean? Just fuck them, pretty much. And like I said, this is kind of like a textbook example of that. And like I said, I think this largely came from... I think when Lisa Frank started the company, I don't think she intended for it to get like that. I just think that she didn't know what she was doing. James Green got in there, got maybe allegedly like on a bit of a power trip, and made everybody miserable. And... that's just kind of how it worked out. Like I said, they were actually very successful for a long time, and I don't know how much of a global reach that the company had, but in the United States, at least, in the 80s, and particularly in the 90s, the shit was everywhere. Everywhere. And, like, if you were especially if you were a tween girl, like, I feel like maybe 8 to 12 years old or something like that, that was, like, that was the shit. That was, like, everybody knew about Lisa Frank stuff. Everybody. Even if you didn't particularly care for it, you just couldn't avoid it. So, like I said, I think that's why people are so fascinated by the story. It's just because of all the nostalgia, and then you find out, of course, that it's not what you thought. It wasn't like a big, fun, happy place to work at all, like by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah. Gramster says word on the street is working at Disney World is a little culty as well. I have heard that too, but
mostly for the entertainers.
Yeah, like I said, my brother worked at Animal Kingdom for a long time, but he wasn't an entertainer. He was a photographer. Like he was one of the guys that would go around the park and take pictures of families and stuff like that, and he loved it. He thought it was great, but you know, I think the performers, they get treated like a little bit different, and I've heard it's like pretty harsh. But I don't know. Let me see. Where did Zach says, I first learned about all this from a girl named Jen Love here on YouTube, who does videos about controversies in the beauty industry. Yeah, and I didn't realize, like, Bailey Sarian did because I love her, and she did a video about this controversy as well. And I think a lot of people were pissed off, especially in more recent times. I think it was 2022 or 2023 or whenever it was. I'll get into that later. But where they teamed up with that makeup company and there was a Kickstarter and it was hugely successful and everybody's like, oh my God, nostalgia. Like all the 90s kids were like, oh, we want this stuff, and gave them all this money, and then it went horribly wrong. And that wasn't even James Green's fault. That was Lisa Frank's fault, I'm going to say. She like fucked over like an independent company, and she seems to be kind of doing that, allegedly. Like, don't fucking sue me, you know what I mean? That's what I've heard. That's what a lot of people are saying, is that she kind of likes to, or just kind of take advantage of like smaller companies.
Yeah, Grandpa's in there talking about how corrupt the government is and what those systems are like. Yeah, actually, out of all of them, the military treated me the best, but it was kind of the corruption helped in a certain way, because they used corruption to fucking pay people off and shit like that. But yeah, you're not. What they need to do, a lot of the problems that we have in American society, just Western civilization to be, just overall, is that people are educated in these schools that make them think that they're in Star Trek. You're not in Star Trek. You're in Dune.
I wish we were in Star Trek.
That's what movie you're actually in. You're in Dune. You're not in Star Trek.
It's a bummer we're not in Star Trek.
Yeah, you're not in Star Trek.
I thought Star Trek would have happened by now.
Yeah, no, you're in Dune.
Yeah,
if you're
no
in
shit.
Star Trek, you're in Star Trek Mirror Universe. It has real good PR and good
Don't love that
veneer of yeah, but that's not what it really is. And it will never be that. It's always been Dune. It's still kind of a medieval thing because humans are what they are.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
what they are.
we've made some progress, but not enough.
But it was never in government.
Not enough for my liking. So
Government has never helped the people. It never will. It's what has helped people progress throughout history was the advent of technology. Technology did things that for people that governments could never do. Most governments try to stop. Most ancient governments try to stop technology because it was a threat to government power. Just keep pouring technology on. Life will get better for the individual. It won't get better for governments. They become more and more irrelevant the more access to technology people have. I have technology that kings couldn't access to technology that kings hundreds of years ago could never dream of. I have access to technology a president of the 1940s could never dream of.
But the thing is, most other people have that.
They all have it too.
So,
Right.
which was good in a lot of ways,
Right.
but it's harder to.
Yeah.
It's also harder to
Yeah,
kind
and
of
it had nothing to do with government.
kind of stand out.
Government is a false god.
SideQuest Hero said, I worked at Disney. I assure you it is very culty. Like I said, I've heard that. We know a couple of people that were performers there, and they said that. But like I said, I've known other people that work there in different roles that they don't get the same treatment. It's not quite the same, I guess. So I guess they're harder on their performers, maybe. I'm not really sure. We're actually going to Disney, not Disney World, but we're going to Disney Hollywood Studios on Friday because my sister is down. So we're going there with her on Friday. So I'm not sure, like the sidetrack show, we should be back in time for the sidetrack show because I don't think we're going to be there like all day. We're going to go in the morning and just go. It doesn't have a fuck ton of rides. So I don't know how long, but we should be back. But if we're going to be late or something like that, like I'll announce it like on Friday, but we're going to be gone most of the day Friday. All right, so you want to get
Go ahead.
You want to get in on this?
Go ahead.
Okay. So as I mentioned, Lisa Frank of Lisa Frank Inc. is actually a real person. I think a lot of people maybe didn't know that they thought it was just a made-up name or the name of the company or whatever. Zach gave us a super chat. Thank you very much. Speaking of Star Trek, got an album rec, Parallelograms by Lisa. Is it Perhax? Perhax. The producer is the guy who did the music for the OG Star Trek movies. Okay, well I'm gonna write that down then, on one of my little scraps of paper that I have. I just cleaned all this out, but I still have one scrap of paper so I could write shit down so I wouldn't forget stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna write that down. Oh shit, I spelled that wrong, but close enough. I'll find it. I'll find it. I'm just trying to write it down pretty quick. So yeah, she was actually born into quite a wealthy family in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. And this is a small, very wealthy town. I guess I don't want to call it a city because it's like a fairly small population. But it's not far from Detroit, but it is actually one of the wealthiest smaller cities, smaller towns in the United States. I think it's top 5. So very, very wealthy enclave. So she was born there. Her dad was actually a big muckety-muck in the automotive industry. Like, he ran a company called Detroit Aluminum and Brass, and it had been founded by her grandfather. And they made, like, engine bearings for tanks, like, in World War II and stuff like that. So, very, very wealthy family. Now, where she got a lot of her art, like, her mom was pretty artistic. Like, she did pottery and things like that. Her dad, because he had money, he was also like a big art collector, and he really loved pop art. So you can see like kind of where the influence like for her artwork or her kind of aesthetic like came from, because it is very psychedelic pop art kind of looking, like super bright colors and stars or rainbows and shit like that, you know what I mean? Which was kind of a big 80s thing anyway, but you know what I mean. So she got into that. And like I said, her mom had a kiln like down in the basement, so her and her mom would make pottery. Like her for her 12th birthday, they gave her a loom, which, okay. That is what, so she could weave.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I mean, that's,
might like that.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Like, well,
they gave me that hook and thing to make carpet.
Yeah. I got that.
Yeah, and it had the owl.
Yeah.
You can make the owl and shit.
I did a frog.
You did a frog? Yeah.
Yeah, I did a frog.
They were fun to make. I don't know what happened.
Oh, wait, are you talking about macrame?
No, it looked like it was like a...
Because me and my mom did macrame. Hook. That was big in the 70s.
You had this hook, and you got a piece of yarn, little pieces of yarn, and you put
it
in a picture, and it made a rug. Shag rug looking
Yeah,
thing.
I did a frog like that. Except it was little, so I made it into a pillow, is what I did with
it was
mine.
a couple feet high.
Yeah.
It was just a toy that they would give the kids.
But I got all
make it.
I got all the art toys when I was a kid. I got I got a pottery wheel, like a little pottery wheel. I got a was that spin art thing? It was like this plastic basin.
Yeah.
And then there was like you put a paper on this little plastic clippies.
Yeah.
And then it spun around really fast, and then you pour paint on it so it would make like that splatter.
Yeah, I think I had that too.
Yeah. I had all the kind of artistic toys.
Yeah, there's all kinds of shit that they gave me I forgot about.
Yeah, latch hook. That's what it's called. Oracle pointed that out.
What's it called?
Latch hook.
Latch hook.
That, yeah.
That's what it's called.
I might still have that pillow somewhere. It might be in the attic or something, for all I know.
I thought it made like a rug.
You can make a rug with it.
It looked like an owl.
You can make a rug with it. Yeah. But like I said, mine was like a frog, and it was like that big.
Yeah. Yeah, they had different ones you could choose. I think they gave me the owl.
It was like a cartoon frog.
Yeah, like a cartoon owl, right.
Yeah. And I just made a pillow out of it.
Yeah.
But it's just like... Gramper says, if Tom remembers Katie Heyman, one of the Trenton band and theater girls, she slings real estate in Bloomfield Hills, the suburb we were talking about right now.
As long as she's not shooting scenes in those houses.
Where Lisa Frank grew up.
Did you know... It's kind of funny in the adult industry. The being a realtor is sometimes associated with also kind of like doing shit on the side in the industry. It's just evidently that happens. Weird, but it's like a cover. It's a front.
Yeah. Yeah,
meet me at this house over here type of deal. I don't know. It's just weird. It's kind of a stereotype. Stereotype that a lot of the... I'm not going to spread rumors, I guess.
You can say allegedly.
Allegedly, a lot of hookers fucking are also realtors.
Either that or it's just like a porn category.
Well, that's also a porn category.
Well, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like the realtor's going to show you the house, and then it's like, hey, I'll show you something else.
Well, evidently, some realtors have a kind of like special clientele that know what she really is and fucking set an appointment that way. And she'll show her up.
It's like, well, if you don't want to buy the house, I'm still going to make some money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a win-win.
Exactly. There's no intention to buy the house.
Like I said, just, no judgment.
There's some kind of stereotype that evidently would have. Kind of like some massage therapists are also like fucking known for happy endings and shit.
Yeah, whereas like I'm sure like regular massage therapists, because we know we have a friend.
We know one that's just regular.
That's just regular.
Yeah.
She's like an occupational therapist or physical therapist, and I'm sure that they probably get like.
No, she says every now and then a dude thinks that's what it is.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they probably deal with that a lot.
Yep.
And she's like, I'm not that kind of massage therapist. Okay, it's like that's a different kind of massage therapist. So go elsewhere. I'm just like trying to, help you after your accident or whatever. Eric Lynn said, I loved macrame. Yeah, me and my mom, I don't remember how to do it anymore. But, macrame was huge in the 70s. I kind of feel like everybody had that macrame owl or that shit like hanging on their wall.
Yep.
We certainly had one. And I made a macrame owl. I don't know what happened to it. But you can make other shit too, but the owl was the thing that I remember. Everybody made that fucking macrame owl. Zach said,
it might have been a wall hanging. For some reason, I'm remembering it as a rug. But maybe it was like I said, it might have been like a tapestry, like a macrame tapestry.
It wasn't a tapestry. It was like shaped like an owl.
It was shaped like an owl. I thought it was square, but had a
no, that's latch hook. Macrame is something else.
Yeah.
Macrame is like almost like knots, and it had like beads in it.
Yeah, I did the latch hook owl, but I forgot what it.
Yeah,
I forgot what it was. Was it a rug or if it was something you hung on a wall? I don't remember. I never did hang it up. I just made it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And then you get done with it. Didn't take long to make, from what I remember.
Zach said, what's that thing called where you put a pencil in an arm thing and a piece of paper spins around under it and makes patterns? I was thinking, I thought it was spirograph. Well, spirograph was the thing that had like the little, like it was little circles.
Circles with gears.
With gears.
And you put different ones in there.
And it made like all these like geometric kind of patterns.
They were perfect patterns.
Yeah, I had that too.
That.
That was super fun. So like I said, I had like all...
It's kind of like one step.
We were easy to entertain back then.
Yeah, it was like one step.
Before computers.
Yeah, it was before computers. That was like one step above fucking Etch-a-Sketch. And what was the other one that they had? Light Bright.
Oh, I loved Light Bright.
I couldn't stand Light Bright.
I loved Light Bright. I had a Light Bright.
I didn't like Etch-a-Sketch either.
Etch-a-Sketch was fun, but I couldn't make shit on that.
Yeah, you could only make fucking things
like
you'd
see these nerds like make all this cool shit. I'm like, what?
Yeah, how the hell did you get that?
I don't have
How'd you make a circle?
I don't have the patience for that.
I didn't have patience for it.
Yeah. But Light Bright, I loved that. Actually, I think I used my Light Bright so much that like we had to get another one.
Yeah.
And I used to get like the little flat boxes of the new designs. You know what I mean?
Damn.
So yeah, I don't know why, because it was just pretty. You know, you would stick it all in there, and the fun part was you'd stick all the stuff in there like in the daylight, and then when you were done, you'd be like, okay, turn the lights off, and then and it'd be like, whoa, it was magical. So you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
It was just you.
It wasn't just me. They were very popular.
I had that shit. I had a radio that was shaped like Winnie the Pooh's head. And you could put a fucking...
I remember those.
Remember that? And you could stick a fucking earphone in it, and I'd put my earphone in there, and I'd be up against the fucking...
Listening to Winnie Pooh's head.
No, I'd be going to sleep at night looking out the window. Yeah, in the bed, looking at the stars and shit, because I had the fucking bed right up against the... It's in California. Had the bed right
Did you have a hamburger phone? Like a phone that was shaped like a little hamburger?
I didn't have the hamburger phone.
My friend had that, and I was so jealous. I never got one.
I had a rubber hamburger. You could open it up, and you could put paper clips in it, and then put the top of the bun back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I had one, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Fuck stupid. This 70s toy.
Did you ever have, I think this might have been 80s, but did you have a 2XL, which was like a little, he was like a little robot. He was about this big. Well, he's kind of a big fat robot. And you put, no. And you put an 8-track in. He was educational. You put 8 tracks in him, and he talked, and he asked you questions, and he had buttons on his chest, and you answered the questions like by pushing the buttons.
I had a thing called a big track, and it was a fucking 6-wheel, looked like a fucking futuristic tank with a keyboard in the back. You could program how far it would go and turn, and you pre-program it to run around. I think that was very early 80s though. Had a little laser, beam. They're worth a lot of money now if you have one.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of that stuff is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's called a big track.
SideQuest Hero says, didn't they used to have this band thing where you weave them together with your fingers? It was like red and yellow and orange, and you like chained them and made blankets and things. I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know if I had that, but I think I know what you're talking about though, but I can't remember what it was called. But like I said, I had a lot of those like crafty kind of tools. Like I get those, and you'd go to the store and you get like these little white plaster statues, usually of like strawberry shortcake characters, shit like that, you know what I mean? And then you could paint them. Like, we did that a lot, too.
Erica said she never could figure out the Rubik's Cube. I figured out how to take the Rubik's Cube apart. You could take the corner off.
Or take the stickers off. That was much easier.
No, I would just take it apart and then fucking put it all back together so it was assembled, and that way I could get it.
I'm a fucking genius. Look at that.
No, I'd get so frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it. I'm going to set it back.
I had all of those. I had the Rubik's Cube. I had the pyramid thing. That was much easier because it's not as many sides. I had the orb, the one that was silver around it. It had like colored beads around it. And I had one that was like a snake, but it was like plastic, and it had like these little like triangular like colors on it, and you had to get a pattern. I don't remember how it worked.
Yes, I remember
all those puzzles I had.
I remember creepy crawlers.
Yeah,
I don't remember what they were.
I had creepy crawlers. It was this stuff. It was like a I think did you have to cook it, or was it one where it just dried? Because it was like this gel.
Yeah.
And you put it in these molds of like bugs, like scorpions and roaches and shit. Okay. And you could make them swirly, or you can make them whatever color. And then I don't remember if it was one of the ones you had to bake, because we also had, me and my brother, we had the one where you melted like wax tabs and then poured the hot wax, because we had dangerous toys back then, and poured the hot wax. There was no like safety, anything. He just poured this like boiling hot wax into these little molds, and you can make little race cars. Like it came with little bitty tires and axles, and you put the little bitty tires and axles in there, and then you poured the wax on it, and you could also color with them. So, because they were like crayons. So that was a plus.
My favorite one were the Shogun Warriors. I had all of them. The big 2-foot ones. I still got some of them. Mazinga. I got Mazinger.
I still have, unfortunately,
I
I don't have a lot of my toys from back then. However, I do still have a Weeble haunted house. Because that was one of my favorite toys when I was growing up. I don't have all the Weebles still.
I got two great Mazingers out there. Actually, one of them's not completed, but fucking because the piece is missing. You can't get the pieces. Yeah, it's wild though. Yeah, I love Shogun Warriors. The die-cast metal ones too. Yeah.
SideQuest says, I had some weird third world national in Iraq who cleaned our gym and could barely speak English teach me to solve a Rubik's Cube. My ego never recovered.
Yeah.
Tammy says, just realized I grew up way poorer than any of you. I had none of these things. Well, a lot of the stuff was because, I was pretty poor too, but a lot of it was just like presents from other relatives that had more money.
I was the only child, so I got toys.
Yeah. Well, now I was the oldest, so I was the only child for 4 years until my brother came along.
Yeah.
And then, after that, and then I have 3 younger siblings now, but you know what I mean? One of them was born like way after me.
I like robots and monsters and action figures.
I was a big monster
fan. I like
fan.
the Micronauts, the die-cast metal, fucking metal men, all kinds of shit we used to have. And then the electronic games that came out in the 70s, and they weren't video games as you would know them. They were electronic games.
Yeah,
we had one red dots.
Yeah, we had one like that was but I think we got it at a thrift store.
Yeah.
And it was like a it wasn't Pong. I can't remember what it was. It was kind of like, maybe it was kind of like Pong.
Instead of Atari, I had Odyssey 2.
We had that because that was way cheaper than the Atari.
No, I think it was the same price.
Was it? I thought it was way cheaper.
No, same price. They came out around the same time. Odyssey 2 had better graphics for a while. Just the games weren't as good.
I mean, all the graphics. It was the early 80s. Like all the
yeah.
graphics were shitty. It was just like these little pixelated. Hey, look, it's E.T. It just look like a little blob of nothing.
The new Atari had so many games. That's you couldn't beat Atari.
Yeah. We played Atari at my cousin's house.
They were both American. Odyssey 2 is made by Magnavox. Atari is not Japanese. A lot of people thought it was Japanese. It was from California.
Yeah. There's whole documentaries about Atari, which, like I said, was kind of fascinating. I don't remember if it was on like the toys that made us kind of thing, but you know what I mean.
Odyssey had better joysticks. It had a keyboard on it. It looked better when it first came out. It's just that real rapidly, Atari got all the good software.
Yeah,
guys, because they were young guys. And Magnavox was old dudes trying to figure out computer science to make. They're like,
games. Oh, I guess this is the thing now. We gotta figure this out.
Yeah, and it wasn't like today where a game designer could work for multiple companies just selling the program. They worked for a specific company. All the good guys were working for fucking Atari.
Yeah, so you kind of got the...
Atari snapped them all up.
That's true. So
let's see. The Odyssey system was better. They just didn't have programmers.
Yeah, I didn't really... The only time I ever played Atari was at my cousin's house, and I wasn't there often enough to really judge the difference. You know what I mean?
I had them both. Or I didn't have them both. I had access to both. My cousin had it, and fucking we'd play them both, and Atari had better games, and a lot more of them.
Well, yeah.
And they were cheaper. The games were cheaper. The fucking Odyssey game was expensive, and it wasn't that good.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They really didn't have a lot of games.
Best one with K.C. Munchkin. It was a fucking Pac-Man ripoff.
Well, yeah, they had rip-offs of all the popular
It was a pretty good rip-off, but it was, the graphics were better than...
Anything that makes money, everybody's going to make a version of it. Yeah. That's been going on forever.
Intellivision was a little bit better. Remember Intellivision?
Yeah, we didn't have one.
Mattel Intellivision. I think it was Mattel that made that one. That was even a little bit better.
Maybe, yeah.
And then ColecoVision came out and blew everybody out of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about video game history. Man, we gotta get back to footage.
Yeah, I know. I was just waiting for you to stop. We got distracted by the whole Loom when she was 12 years old thing. Well, like I said, that's kind of neat. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know how much a Loom cost back then. I'm sure it wasn't cheap. But as Gramthers pointed out, Bloomfield Hills is a very, 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 very wealthy area. So she went to a super, super fancy schmancy prep school, and started doing art. Like I said, she grew up around a lot of art. Her dad collected art. Her mom was artistic. And she had an art show like when her senior year of high school. And at this art show, she sold a bunch of her paintings, and she made $3,000 in the early 70s, which is like, I checked, 23 grand in today's money.
That's a shit ton of money.
Like selling her paintings. And one of them was bought by Lee Iacocca, who, if you don't remember, was the CEO of Chrysler. I don't know if he was at the time, but I think he got kind of more famous in the 80s, maybe. That's what I heard of him. And then she went to Cranbrook Kingswood School, which is like an art school. And she graduated there in 1972. And then she went to Tucson to go to the University of Arizona, like to study art. Now, the first kind of business she started, which was actually quite successful, you could argue that maybe it was a little, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it's a little exploitative, but you know what I mean. What she would do is, because she was in Arizona, she would go around and buy like jewelry and pottery and stuff from like local Native American tribes that were making them. And then she would go back to Michigan and sell them at a significant markup.
Yeah, that's common.
Which, yeah. So, you know what I mean? Like I said,
import-export did. That's what import-export did, yeah.
But that was her first business. Yeah. And she actually did so well at that she would come back to Arizona after her trips and go to the artists and be like, hey, can you make this thing? Like, ask them for, like, specifically, like, shit to make, because she knew that it would sell more.
He knew what they sell, yeah. She knew it would sell.
Yeah. So, like
That's
I said...
all normal, though.
Yeah, she's not an idiot. Like, she came for money, but she seemed to have a good business sense. I just don't think she was great at dealing with other people, maybe, but
handling power.
She did know how to make money.
Yeah, she couldn't handle power.
So while she was still in college, she started. That was just kind of like, she didn't even call it a business or anything. That was just kind of, she was doing it on the side, like while she was at school or whatever. But she started a business called Sticky Fingers, which was, she started making jewelry. And it wasn't super fancy or anything like that. It was just plastic, like little plastic charms with like fruit and shit like that on it. And she actually, they were kind of like, what's that one? Is it Pandora? Those that make those charm bracelets. They're kind of pricey, I think, but
I don't know.
It's kind of like that, but like a cheaper version, it looked like. And she actually got license fee. Like, she could use licensed characters, like she worked it out, like Mickey Mouse, like Popeye, Betty Boop. So she could do like little plastic characters and put them on these charm bracelets. And apparently that was like, did pretty well. And she just started it out like out back or whatever, like in her little, like a little guest house or whatever. And she started getting like interest from like Bloomingdale's and Neiman Marcus. Like, they were buying a bunch of her stuff. So, like I said, she had a pretty good business sense earlier on. And eventually she kind of segued into, incorporating the business as Lisa Frank Inc. And one of the first big trends that she jumped on, and it's funny because if you didn't grow up in the 70s or 80s, I think it's really hard to overstate how big the fucking sticker craze was. Holy shit. Everybody was into fucking stickers. And I remember when I was 10, 11, my parents ran a daycare, right? I was like older than the kids that were there. And like I had, and most kids had, like a scrapbook that you kept all your stickers in. And we would like I've sold them like to other kids. Like they'd pay like $1 or $2 for them sometimes for like really fancy ones. And that was like in like 1982. So that was like a lot more money back then. And it was like little kids.
Kind of like trading cards.
Yeah. Like, and I had like, mostly like a lot of people liked scratch and sniffs. A lot of people like those, what's the word? Like those real shiny ones. Like the ones that were,
Hypercolor?
No, that was a 90s thing. The ones that were kind of like, what the fuck is the word for that? I know there's a word. But they were just those real holographic maybe.
Holographic ones, yeah.
Like those, I had some that were kind of like silk and puffy. Like I had some that were like cats, but they were big. They were like that, and they were like silky, but they had like puff underneath them.
Yeah, there was ones that we were getting in the 70s. This must have been around 76 or so, and they were puffy like you're talking about, and they were white, but they were monsters. The background was white, and they had monsters on there, Hollywood monsters, and they would glow in the dark.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Those?
Yeah. I remember those. I had some of those too.
Yeah, they had that one alien monster that had the brain.
Yeah.
They had that one. They had a Dracula.
Yeah, I had some of those. I had all different kinds.
Yeah. That was so. That was late 70s.
Late 70s, early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah.
When I was trading stickers, like I said, most people, I had like it was an old gray photo album. Mine was just like an old photo album, and I kept all my stickers in it. And like I'd let the other kids like look through it, and if they wanted to buy one like for $1 or whatever, like I would let them do that, or sometimes I would let them trade if they had a cool one. I even tried to like make my own scratch and sniffs, but it didn't work out so good. Yeah. I will say that my best seller, and if you guys are old like me, you might remember this. My best seller was a scratch and sniff that was black, and it had a skunk on it, and it smelled like skunk.
You made that?
No, I didn't make it. That was like one of the most popular ones.
You could sell it to other kids?
Yeah. Right. Everybody wanted those. Because kids love gross shit. Right. You know what I mean? I think there was another one too that was, man, what did it... I feel like it had a skull on it, and it smelled like decomposition or something like that. There was like a couple gross ones, and those were always big sellers. People love the gross shit. The pizza one sold really good too. Like it just had a slice of pizza on it. It smelled like pizza, kinda. It smelled like fake pizza. But yeah. So the sticker thing was fucking huge. So if you're around in the 80s and you remember seeing stickers with like fucking super bright like rainbows and unicorns and shit like that, chances are it was probably Lisa Frank, because she was kind of the first. I don't know if she was the first one to do it, but it was like certainly the most successful. Because I know there was other companies making all kind of stickers. Like I said, it's really hard to overstate if you weren't around how fucking huge. They even did news stories on it. That's how big of a deal it was. Like how kids were collecting stickers. It was a huge thing. So.
There's this dark side to Lisa Frank? Yeah.
Yeah.
She's crazy.
I mean. DJ Maniac says, "Oh hey, I haven't seen you in a while." Yeah. They probably used patchouli for the skunk smell, like they did with Stinkor and Moss Man from the Masters of the Universe. They actually mixed it in the batch. But see, I think that patchouli smells good. The skunk scratch and sniff to me didn't smell like patchouli. I mean, it might have been patchouli mixed with something else. But to me, it smelled more like it was like a sweet smell, but it was also like a really rank smell. Which patchouli does not smell rank to me. It just smells... I like the patchouli smell. Gramper says the worst sticker was the Indian food in a diaper one. I never heard that. He's just making that up. Take it from a garbage can sitting in the hot sun. Yeah, I mean, probably. Eric said, I love scratch and sniff stickers. I still love stickers. Yeah, I mean, stickers are cool. Like, a lot of people still buy stickers. You know what I mean? It's just that in the 80s, I feel like every kid... Because I was 10... in 82, like right around this era, and it felt like most kids had like a book, like a scrapbook or like a photo album or something like that with a fuck ton of stickers in it, and you were always looking for cool ones, like different ones, you know what I mean? Like especially if they were weird scratch and sniffs, or like I said, like poofy ones, or ones that were different, or ones that were big or like super shiny or super holographic or whatever. So you're always like looking for different ones you could trade and like sell and stuff. So I feel like Lisa Frank, she first kind of capitalized on that. So she incorporated the company Lisa Frank Inc. in 1980, and she was only about 25 years old at this stage. And so it did really well with the stickers, and in only a couple years later, in 1984, they got Spencer Gifts gave them $1 million order, like bought a bunch of their stuff. So this was kind of like, I don't know if I'd call it an overnight success, but she certainly didn't seem to struggle all that much. Like it seemed like whatever it was she was doing, like the market actually wanted that, and you know, so and immediately responded to it. So getting this order from Spencer was, you know, that kind of allowed her to invest more back into the business. Now, I'll note that, like many companies that were based around art back then, you didn't really have computers, you didn't have Photoshop, you didn't have anything like that. So, obviously, a lot of the art had to be hand done. Like, you would draw it with pencil, and then her stuff would usually be airbrushed. And they'd make them as, big paintings, and then, they would obviously shoot them photographically and shrink them down. Like, I've been a graphic designer, and when I went to college in the early 90s, they were still doing stuff the old school way. So I learned a lot of the old school methods for shit. You know what I mean? Putting in text by hand with those like rub off letters, shooting everything with a photographic, with an actual photographic camera that's mounted on an arm and shit like that. We did all that. They don't do any of that anymore, obviously. But back then they did. So you had to shoot it as a big painting, and then they would shrink it down to put it on a sticker or whatever. And because this was so labor intensive, like a lot of times, the paintings would take a really long time. Now, she didn't do all the artwork herself. Obviously, she was an artist too, and she could paint, and they were her ideas. But she had other artists working for her. I think at first she was just kind of like, I don't know, she was just commissioning paintings or anything like that. Now, James Green, who we will be hearing a lot about from here on out, he was hired as her first full-time artist. This was in 1982. Like I said, I feel like he gets a little bit big for his britches, like later on, but he was actually hired as an employee. She had started this company, she started doing this in like the late 70s, but he got hired in 1982 as a full-time artist, and he was an illustrator, and and obviously that was just like his first main role, right? Now, as time went on, they were actually quite successful, but they recognized, and like I said, I kind of feel like this, I don't know if it was her idea or his idea, but they maybe saw a gap in the market, and that gap was school supplies. And they started getting into that like in the mid to late 80s. Now, you have to remember that prior to this time, school supplies were pretty basic. You know what I mean? Like, you'd go to Kmart or whatever, and you'd get some pencils and some fucking notebooks or whatever, and they were just like plain, it was just like a red cover or a green cover. It didn't have shit on it. Like, the pencils were just plain. Everything was plain. So what they wanted to do was take everything and like just put these super bright, cute, like fun, whimsical designs on them. Like, whatever it was, folders, notebooks, pencils, erasers, whatever, like you needed to get for school. And they decided to just go all in on that. And that was actually a really good business decision because, man, people really responded to that because they hadn't seen that prior. They had seen the stickers and stuff, but nobody had seen school supplies that were all like that, that were all artistic like that. And I kind of feel like now suddenly kids that were going back to school, this was like the thing to have. And I will note that, a lot of kids, if they didn't have a lot of money, you couldn't afford it because the shit was usually like 3 times more. Like, I saw somebody talking about, they said, you buy a pack of pencils, for like plain pencils for like 50 cents, whereas like the Lisa Frank ones would be like $1.50. You know what I mean? And some parents were like, yeah, I can't really afford that, or I don't really want to pay that. It's just a fucking pencil just because it's got designs on it. But so the shit was like 3 times more. But the kids loved it so much, and it instantly became kind of a status symbol to have Lisa Frank stuff and not just plain stuff. You were kind of a loser, like, if you had like the plain stuff, I guess. Like I said, this was a little bit, I kind of feel like by the time they had gotten into the school supplies, I remember this, but that was like mid to late 80s, and I was already in high school, so it was a little bit, because I graduated in 1990. So it was a little bit, I mean, my sister would have been the right age, but she wasn't super into that kind of stuff. I don't know if she ever had any Lisa. She might have. I don't really remember. But because she was 7 years, she's 7 years younger than me. But I was already, too old to worry about that anymore. but I do remember seeing it everywhere. And so, yeah, so I feel like it immediately became, like, the thing to have. Like, all of, mostly, you know, tween girls, I kind of feel like, maybe slightly younger teenagers, like, you had to have the stuff. And the stuff, it was unicorns and pandas and little lion cubs, and everything was, like, super cute, super colorful, little LSD looking, you know what I mean? Rainbow stars, you know, it was very, very distinctive. Also, the Trapper Keeper, if you guys remember Trapper Keepers, if you're old like I am, like I said, I never had a Lisa Frank Trapper. I did have Trapper Keepers when I was little, because they've been around a long time. Obviously, the Lisa Frank one was, you know, that was, I was too old for it by that time. I think the one I had, I think I just had, like, a generic one that was kind of, like, green, and then it had, like, just, like, a picture of a waterfall on it or some shit like that. I don't even remember. I didn't have, like, a super fancy one or anything.
Making that drink?
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting down there. There's still some ice left in it, but you know what I mean? Or it says, oh man, Trapper Keepers. Yeah, and it's like, I feel, I might have had a plain red one at one point too. But I kind of feel like when that Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper came out, oh, everybody wanted that. You know? Did it have pandas on it? I feel like it had pandas on it. Like super colorful pandas. Like, it's pretty iconic. And I feel like that was more a 90s thing. When you hear about Lisa Frank now, it's mostly people talking about, like, 90s kids. Like, you know, people that were kids in the 90s, and they remember it from their school supplies. Like I said, I was already too old by that time, because I was already in college by the early 90s. So, you know, obviously I didn't see it as much. And so I will give Lisa Frank that that she recognized a gap in the market at, you know, i.e. maybe little kids, or, you know, school-age kids, tweens. Maybe they just don't want these boring-ass school supplies. Maybe they want something kind of cool and colorful and shit like that. And, you know, capitalized on it in a way that made them a lot of money. I kind of feel like in their heyday, they were making over 60 mil a year. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that was profit, maybe. Which is, you know, a lot of money. So, at their height, they expanded into this massive factory near the airport. Actually, I think you can see it from the airport. It's still there. Doesn't look as good as it used to, but it was very distinctive, because it had, like, super rainbow colored, like, panels on the side, and then it has, like, stars and musical notes that in all different colors, like, all along the wall and shit like that. Like I said, I don't... The documentary that came out, and they filmed part of it, I think a couple people still work in there, but it for real looks abandoned. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what it looks like in 2026, but at least when they shot the documentary, it looked like nobody lived in there. Like, nobody worked in there. You know, the plants were all overgrown and shit like that. And some of the windows were boarded up and that kind of shit. So... James Green. So as I said, he was hired in 1982 as the first full-time artist. And evidently over the years, with him and Lisa working so closely together, he actually was the one that designed their, you know, iconic logo. And some of his ideas, I think, you know, for scaling their operations and whatnot, were put into practice, you know, to their success for a little while. And because they'd worked together for so long, eventually they ended up in a romantic relationship, and they got married in 1994. Now, they showed some of the wedding video, like, in the documentary, and that's what this is kind of the first time you saw him, because they didn't start showing his interviews until I think the second episode. And I think some of the wedding video was shown in the first one, and you could kind of tell he was a jerk just from the wedding videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
goofing off and doing stupid shit.
Well, he was just kind of like, the photographer, it was something like the photographer was going to take a picture, as they do at a wedding, and she had a flute, champagne flute, like in her hand with a drink in it. And he's like, oh, you don't put the drink in the picture. And then he snatched it out of her hand and threw it.
Yeah.
And she was like, what the, you know what I mean? And I was just like, just in a real dickish.
Yeah, being real irreverent and fucking trying to.
And I was like, okay.
Bossy.
Yeah,
bossy
it's just like that. So you know what I mean?
Nothing wrong with having a drink in a fucking pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's
wedding.
champagne. It's a wedding. Like, why is that weird? It was just, and I think it was just kind of, and it wasn't a formal photo. They usually
hang out.
The formal photos, they usually take this before the wedding anyway.
To me, it looked like
Generally.
stunting and grandstanding.
That's definitely...
Stunting, grandstanding, and, trying to be in charge.
He definitely seemed like he was coming across as, like, trying to be cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The wedding was kind of ridiculously over the top. My favorite part was when she comes in on the horse-drawn carriage, because, of course, there was a horse-drawn carriage, and they pull up so she can get off of the carriage, and the horse just does a big piss. Like, right?
Yeah.
And I was like...
He was tired.
The horse knew what was going to happen, I guess.
Yeah.
But, but yeah. And I feel like a lot of people said her dress was over the top, but it wasn't really. It just looked like a regular wedding dress for 1994, so it was big. But it just had, like, super colorful, like, roses, I think they were, just, like, right at the neckline, like, right there.
What they were wearing.
Yeah, so it wasn't, I didn't think it was weird. But you know what I mean? And I also kind of feel like when they interviewed James later, and like I said, yes, this is after the divorce, and obviously he's very bitter. And he even said, like, when he got married, and the interviewer asked, well, did you love her? And he just couldn't say, yeah, like, or even at the time, or not anymore, or something, which would have been understandable. But he was just kind of like,
Yeah.
And then he was like, I didn't really want any kids. Yeah. And I was like, you had 2 kids? And they're grown now,
they're alive,
and they're alive, and it's like, I'm sure they'll be really jazzed to hear you say that. But you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It just seemed really shitty. And like I said, it just seemed like it was just very transactional for him. Like it was her idea. Oh yeah, okay, I'll do it.
He's a sociopath.
Yeah, he did kind of come across a little bit like that.
Yeah, or psychopath.
So they did eventually have 2 sons. You're gonna love this if you don't know. So their 2 sons are named Hunter Green and Forest Green.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I heard that, I just cringed. I was like, I know those are legit names,
Done on purpose.
Hunter and Forrest. Hunter's not that weird of a name. Forrest is a little, because now you're just going to get Forrest Gump all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, but the fact that your last name is Green, I'm like, come on, man. It's like, do you want them to get made fun of? Why would you do that? So, you know what I mean? The weird thing about it is that Hunter, who was also on the documentary, is very pro-dad. He's very much into... He helps his dad run his business now, which I'll get into a little bit later. And he is very anti-mom. Like, he does not have anything nice to say about Lisa Frank at all. And I kind of feel like it's... And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know them. It definitely seems like a situation where he idolizes his dad, and he's taken his dad's side and everything. And I feel like his dad has maybe turned him against his mom.
I
don't know. Like I said, his mom sounds like not a great person either. So it might be an everyone sucks here situation.
Yeah, it could be. There's probably shit we don't know about. There's shit we don't know about. So
like I said, I don't know them. Like I said, that's just how it came across to me.
Yeah.
The other son, Forrest, works with his mom, and he was not interviewed. Just like Lisa wasn't. Like they were asked, but they didn't want to do the documentary. Probably the right choice, maybe. Because some people said some shitty stuff. Not so much about the sons. Nobody really said about them. So yeah. So I kind of feel like at this stage, I think even from the beginning, like I said, the marriage seemed transactional. Like I said, maybe. I don't know if she was more into it, or I don't know. But that was just kind of like the fucking impression that I got. But even back then, even in the late 80s and 90s, I kind of feel like there was already employees working at the place that were like, I mean, Tucson, Arizona, it's a city, but it's not a huge city. You know what I mean? And I feel like Lisa Frank already was starting to get a reputation. This is somewhere you don't want to work. You know what I mean? They were always running ads. They had like a really high turnover of employees, shit like that. One of the things was the pay was pretty low. And And, it should say they called it the Rainbow Gulag is what they called it. So that should really
pretty prison.
Yeah, so that's which should tell you something. So the pay was shitty. Not much above minimum wage, even for back then. And, and these are not, this isn't a job that would be like a minimum wage job. This is like a skilled job. And especially like in the late 80s when it went more for like, obviously they weren't doing hand illustration anymore much. Like nobody was. They were transitioning into digital art, Photoshop. So this is, a fairly skilled position, and they're giving people like just slightly over minimum wage. And even people that work there full time, couldn't really, like, they were still on food stamps or had to work second jobs or had to do freelance on the side, shit like that. You know what I mean? Also, they were very, very company loyalty based, and it's almost, I got the impression, like, from the way a lot of the employees were talking, that it's like the company, like, they didn't want you to leave. Like, they just expected you to stay there late. Like, they think that you didn't have a life or, like, a family that you had to look after or anything else to do other than just, like, making more money for them. It seemed like they kind of had that attitude toward their employees. And this was an interesting quote. This is somebody that they interviewed, not for this woman was not on the documentary, but she was interviewed there was a really long article on Jezebel. And the woman that wrote the article was in the documentary, like talking about it. And she spent many years, because she was real interested in Lisa Frank, and she also didn't know about all this shit until later on. And so she got interested and she started digging into it. So she wrote like this big long thing, and she interviewed like all these people that had worked for them or people from the area or whatever. And so she got all kind of like juicy quotes, a lot of which I wrote down. But so this one woman said, Lisa Frank is notorious in Tucson as the world's shittiest employer. She's like, every single person I talked to advised me to avoid Lisa Frank at all costs. I didn't know a single person who had not heard horror stories about the work environment there. I don't know if it's possible to really communicate how bad their reputation was in town. Every person who ever worked there seemed to have a case of PTSD from it. Which, yeah. So like I said, they had a bad reputation around town, even in the 90s. You know what I mean? And Lisa and James, while their poor employees were struggling with 2 jobs and working 12 hours a day, and that still not being enough and getting berated and yelled at, and still being on food stamps, Lisa and James had a huge house with a household staff, had a private jet, because of course they did. Why wouldn't they? And they were kind of living high on the hog. And they said their house was, I guess Lisa designed it, but they said it looked like one person called it a nouveau riche monstrosity. Like it was all these wacky colors and stuff, which I guess that's not surprising since it's Lisa Frank, you know what I mean? And so some of the shit that was going on, like I said, this reminded me very much of Scientology. And this was one of the things, like when I worked for that company it wasn't a Scientology org that I worked for in Clearwater. It was a publishing company. It wasn't what they produced wasn't anything to do with Scientology. It was actually like business to business, direct mail. It was like insurance companies. Basically, we were selling insurance packages to insurance agents to sell to their clients, if that makes any sense. And so you had to make these little mail cards like that they would mail to insurance agencies, like, hey, let's offer this package to your clients or whatever. It was really boring. But it was owned by a bunch of Scientologists, and a bunch of people that worked there were Scientologists. And they kind of had this same thing. Like, you needed to be loyal to them. They didn't want to hear anything about your life or how you had other things to do or shit like that. Like, you just did whatever they said, and you didn't complain about anything. And there was very much a snitch culture, and I kind of feel like that went on here too. A lot of employees said that their phones and emails were monitored. Like if you said something the least bit detrimental, or even just like an offhand comment, like to just a friend of yours, like through email or whatever, you got called into the office and, you know, torn a new asshole for just saying, like, something fairly innocuous. So they were actually, like, reading everyone's emails and listening to their phone calls and things like that, allegedly. There was this one woman who said she had to leave a little bit early because she had to get to the bank, like, to deposit something, like, before it closed, right? So it's like, so she's like, I was just going to leave like 10 minutes early so I could get to the bank before it closed and deposit this or whatever. And so she went out the back door, and the next day she like got called into the office, and she's like, James Green was like freaking out. And he was just kind of like, we need to like padlock the doors to keep the employees from escaping. They were going to padlock everybody in. I was like, you know, that's like, and I don't know if he actually did it because they were like, that's super illegal. Because obviously if there's a fire, like, people can't get out. Like, I was like, did you ever read about the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire? Like, go look that up. That's what they did. They padlocked all those women in there to keep them from leaving during work hours, and it burned down, and they all fucking died, okay? So it's just kind of like, that's why they don't fucking do that anymore. You know, it's against fire code. But he totally said he wanted to do that. He just wanted to padlock them in there because this poor girl I think it was like 10 minutes early, like, so she could get to the bank before it closed, right? So just ridiculous shit like that. So now after, like, Lisa had her first kid, Hunter, who was the older one, it seemed like she kind of withdrew from the company. She was still worked from home and stuff, but it seemed like she was content to, you know, once she made James the CEO, she seemed confident enough that she was putting him in charge and he could run the place, and she could, like, focus more on raising the kids, but also work from home. The employees said that after she had her kids, she probably would come into the office maybe once a month and kind of, like, look around and see how everyone was doing. But that mostly James ran the shit during these years. And one employee at least said that after James took it over, like, everything went to shit. Because he was just a very mean person who was just constantly berating people. One employee said there was this air of fear there. She said the office was always freezing cold. She's like, it seemed like they just wanted to make you as miserable as possible, so you would just be, like, on edge all the time and, like, scared. You know what I mean?
How cold was freezing cold?
I don't know, but she said it was just really cold in there. And some other employees said that too, that it's like they were just trying to make it, like, uncomfortable.
Probably 71 pussies.
Well, no, I don't know. I wasn't there, you know?
We'll see. We'll never know, I guess.
So they also said that people that left were supposed to get, like, severance packages. They wouldn't get them. If they tried to go on unemployment, the company would fight it, like, so they wouldn't get it. A lot of them, they wouldn't even give them their final paychecks. Like, other employees had to sue.
Yeah.
I mean, later on, like, several employees, like, got together and did, like, a class action, like, lawsuit just because of shit like that. There were a bunch of civil judgments against them for that kind of shit. There were also, interestingly, and I don't think they mentioned this on the documentary, but there were some builders and contractors from Tucson that they had done a bunch of work on the building, like the corporate headquarters, and they were owed $4 million that never got paid.
Yeah,
for doing all this work on there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's always trick in the book.
Yeah, come in and do all this and that.
Yeah.
I'll get you that check in the mail.
Yeah, that old fucking serial killer right here, he was doing that to make his fucking castle.
Yeah.
That bitch's name, what was his name?
H.H. Holmes.
H.H. Holmes, yeah, H.H. Holmes. He owed contractors all kinds of shit to build the murder castle.
Yeah.
Just keep firing them. Yeah.
Yeah, Oracle was saying that's Triangle Shirtwaist territory. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah. Like when I said that he was trying to, like, padlock people in. Like I said, they didn't let him do it because at least cooler heads prevailed. They were like, dude, that is so illegal. Like, that's against fire code.
Yeah.
And for that, I don't know if it was the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire that made that law, because it happened more than once. That's just the most famous one. But yeah, you can't lock your employees into the building. That's
some Scientology shit there.
That's what I'm saying. That's kind of reminded me of that. And I'm sure like some Scientology orgs have done that bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they obviously
their own prisons.
They don't give a fuck about the law.
Scientology has its own prisons.
They do. They'll like throw you in a trailer and lock you in there. And
lock you in a trailer.
That's fucking crazy. We've done a lot of shows about Scientology, but it's like we're fascinated by them because, like I said, I worked for them for a while, and then it was so horrible. And then I didn't even know all the shit about them until after I left because I was like, wow, those people are weird, nuts.
Yeah.
And then like I looked it up later and I was like, oh my god, it's so much more horrifying than I even knew about.
Yeah.
And some of the people that I worked with in Clearwater, if you guys know the Lisa McPherson case, some of the people that I worked with, I worked with her roommate. And like other people that knew her and had to testify at that trial. Like a bunch of people that I worked for were involved in that. Yeah. Like she used to work there where I worked. And I didn't realize that until later. I was like, that's fucking crazy.
They've taken over Clearwater. They own that fucking city.
Horrifying.
And it's just fucking buildings filled with Scientology books.
Culty. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
they can do that.
I mean, people that actually live there have been like fighting back against it for ages, but it's just kind of like they have so much money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a real estate scam now.
Yeah, and it's just it's scary how a fucking cult can take over. And Clearwater is so pretty, and it's just like such a shame that it's just got ruined by these culty motherfuckers.
What do they call it? Flag based?
I think that's what it's called.
Something? Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Is that flag? Because they have a bunch of other base. Clearwater's their main.
Yeah, Clearwater.
But they have a bunch of other ones too.
That's where
like around
the
country.
main civilian offices are.
Yeah.
South of Sea Org.
Yeah, like Tom Cruise has been there and everything.
Yeah. It's called flag base.
They have all the big Scientologists have been there. But you know what I mean. So it's crazy. But yeah, this kind of corporate shit, because Scientology is also like a very corporate cult. And I kind of feel like this kind of gave me vibes of that, especially let's lock everybody in the building. The company is the only thing that matters. You have to just work here. Like, it's almost like they didn't want you to leave. Like I said, like you have to be here for 12 hours. People are leaving at 5:30, like the regular time you would leave for work. Where are you going? Like, we still have this and that other thing to do. It's like, I'm going fucking home. Where do you think I'm going? It's like, what, you're paying me $8 an hour and you think you can keep me here 24/7? Fuck that. You know what I mean? It's not slavery anymore. But I kind of feel like they're trying to fucking do that. Because of these conditions, obviously there was a huge turnover in employment. There was one guy that said he worked there. His name was Jacob, and he worked there for 4 years. And he said at that time that he worked there, the creative department was 40 people. And he's like, in the 4 years that he worked there, almost the whole department changed over like at least twice and maybe 3 times. He's like, in one single year, like a third of the people left and had to be replaced. And they said in the local newspapers, there was always ads, like hiring, because no one would stay that long.
All right, fucking Gareth just asked me what would be worth, fucking Scientology prison or Angola State Penitentiary. It'd be different.
I gotta pee.
Angola would be worse.
Yeah, probably.
Because you're around a bunch of fucking maniacs. Scientology prison, you're around. You're at least you're around people that will not kill you or sexually assault you or some shit like that. They're not murderers. It's like a religious prison. But the conditions in that are pretty bad. They're in a trailer that's locked up with no air conditioning in it, and it's stuffy. But if you were to let's say you were to send the fucking FBI in there to break in, to free them, they wouldn't leave because they were like, oh no, it's my religious duty to be here. So they're kind of like in a monastery. Angola, the conditions would be better because you got space, room. They kind of let you out, working outside, but that's not really the situation in the fucking Scientology prison. Another thing is in Angola, if you're in Angola, you're probably gonna be there for the rest of your life. So you might as well just be resigned to it. You can get you a punk girlfriend and shit, fucking do it everywhere, and live a whole prison life where there's a mommy and a daddy and the children and all this shit. They do that kind of shit up there in Angola.
Just gonna make the best of it.
Yeah, then I'm gonna be a rodeo star. Yeah, fucking, then go join a rodeo and fucking learn how to fucking be a fucking rodeo clown or something, you know? They do that. So, it's just different. You don't want to be in either one of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you can possibly avoid it. Seems pretty easy to avoid both of those things, and I would recommend it.
Unless you're violent. I mean, shit, man, I could get in a fight, and the next thing you know, I'm in Angola. You know what I mean? Fucking, you know,
Well, I don't know how that would happen, but...
You get 10 years, 8 years pretty quickly.
Let's try not to do that.
Yeah.
Let's try not to do that.
One thing leads to another. You just get caught up. You get caught up in a moment.
Like I said, try not to do that.
We got in a fight last time we were at the fucking club with Jen. Jen fucking smacking some chicks like that. Smacking them bitches around.
Well, they kept running into me.
Yeah.
Knock that shit off.
Yeah, Jen will fucking beat you up. We didn't get kicked out though. They wanted out and they wanted their money back.
Yeah.
There were people we didn't never seen them before.
Nah,
they didn't actually belong in there.
It was normies.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about it. But
yeah, I didn't know what the hell was going to turn around. Jenny's fucking pummeling the shit out of some chick.
I wasn't pummeling the shit out of her.
Like
I slapped her arm like one time.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
I think that was all that was.
All right.
Because they were just flailing around and they kept like knocking
Jen's a
into me and
badass.
shit, you know?
Jen's in shape.
It seemed like they were doing it on purpose.
Jen's in shape.
I
She'll
mean,
come at you.
everyone was drunk, but I was just kind of like, why do you keep doing that?
Yeah.
Like, knock it off.
Jen could beat up the average dude. All right.
Well, don't oversell it. I don't want to get like, I don't want
average
dudes
young
coming
guy
in.
nowadays weak, but fucking, she was manhandling that woman. I was proud of her. Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
And then I ran him off the dance floor. Trying to dance with their men. And then they went back and said, he sexually assaulted me. And I was like, I was just trying to dance with him. And they were laughing. You didn't want to dance with him? He was not.
Well, like I said, they were just, at first, it was, I don't know if it was the same people. Like I said, all those normies look the same to me, but it's just, they were just standing around. The first group, which was like 7 or 8 of them,
I was trying to drive.
Were like they were taking up like easily a third of the dance floor, and they were just standing there.
Standing there, and I tried to drive.
And I hate that.
I just started dancing. I danced with the biggest one. Come on, like that. He's like, "What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? Let's dance." And then he left. That's how I got.
And then I think
how I'm gonna get ready.
I think like 3 of them came back later, and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna dance," and they start flailing around like idiots and kept like smacking into me, and I was just kind of like,
No,
okay.
it was before.
Are you
that
sure?
Happened first, and then
I thought like all of the people.
No, I did that after.
Okay, so maybe they were like 2 different.
They left.
Okay, I don't remember like.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Like I said, they all looked the same to me, so I didn't know if they were.
I understand club etiquette, and I know the standards.
Many normies do not.
If you act bad, I'm gonna try to dance with you. Okay, and fucking we're gonna see how you react. And fucking if Dr. Michael jumps in, all right, you can't handle that. You might need to clear the dance floor. Okay, because then.
Well, if you can't handle, if you don't have a sense of humor about that, then you probably don't need to be there.
If you're sensitive, okay, you don't need to be out there fucking trying to throw your weight around.
That's what I'm saying.
In the club, okay.
Like, go dance in the corner by yourself, and
Dr. Michael's gonna get up on you, and he looks like Riff Raff from fucking, you know. Yeah, anyway, that and the fucking cross between Riff Raff and Phantom of the Opera. He's gonna be all on your shit. Okay.
Yeah, so it's that. So a few other anecdotes from people that work there. One woman, I think this was a woman, said that she had heard, and it wasn't just James. Like a lot of people, most of the complaints were about James mostly, like what an asshole he was. But a couple of them did complain about Lisa, saying that they did actually hear her screaming and threatening the life of employees that messed something up. So that's nice. Also, there was a guy whose name was Philip, and he was a diabetic. And so he needed to eat at a particular time. You know, you have to maintain your blood sugar or whatever. And so he was going on his dinner break at the time that he would normally go, and they're like, "Where are you going?" "Well, on my dinner break. Like, you know, I have diabetes. Like, I have to eat at a certain time." "Well, yeah, you can't, blah, blah, blah." And they, like, complained about it, and he was just like, "Look, I have to eat at a particular time. You know, it's a medical issue, blah, blah, blah." And they eventually laid him off because he was just like, "Look, I have to do this." And they were like, "Nope, not having it." So, you know, that's nice. Fired a fucking diabetic because he had to eat at a particular time. So now there's this other character in the story, She was also interviewed in the documentary. She's like a little old lady now. But her name was Rhonda. It's either Rolette or Rowlett. I'm just going to call her Rhonda now. And she was the executive vice president and kind of like human resources kind of person. Like she was the one that you would get sent to, like if you were going to get fired or whatever. And she did all the hiring. And she was, she came out in the mid 90s. And most of the employees called her the enforcer. And she fired a lot of people. Actually, like another employee said that she was the Darth Vader to James Green's Emperor. That was the comparison that they made. Now, as I said, she was interviewed on the documentary. She's a little old lady now. And, you know, she's been married to her husband for 50 years or whatever. And she didn't deny that she'd fired a bunch of people, you know, for their attitude or whatever. But she didn't really seem to think that she'd done anything bad. I don't know. Like I said, there wasn't really enough of her to get much of a read. She didn't seem like that nice of a person. But you know what I mean. One of the craziest fucking stories was that at one point, there was an accountant who worked there, and he was 51, and he legit dropped dead at his desk. He had a heart attack and died. Like, he legit dropped dead. And all the employees were kind of freaking out. They said, we heard all this commotion, and then they said, the paramedics came in, and they said, they carried his body out. They carried the dude's body out of the office, and then they were basically like, okay, get back to work.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't, like, they didn't give him any counseling. They didn't, like, say, hey, take the rest of the afternoon off, or that was really upsetting, or give him a break or anything. Yeah. They were just kind of like, okay.
They didn't know.
Nothing to see here.
They didn't
The dude died.
I don't think that was malicious. I think what it was is that they were just so dumb that they didn't know what to do. So they were just like, well, that's normal. Just pretend like it didn't happen. They didn't come out and give a speech or anything.
Yeah, it was just kind of like...
you got the rest of the day off, fucking come back and fucking,
Yeah, one of the other employees...
They try to minimize it.
Yeah, one of the other employees was just kind of like, it's like, oh, well, that dude's dead, next man up. He said that's what it was like.
Yeah.
Like, they were just kind of like... And I was just like, wow, that's horrifying.
Yeah, you can't do anything for the dude that died. But at least you can kind of humanize the people that survived and go, man, that
because that's a little traumatic to see.
You guys got the next day off. We'll fucking pick this up tomorrow. Go ahead and fucking go home. You got the rest of the day off.
I mean, if it was me, if it was my company, I'd be like, Jesus fucking Christ. Right. Like, you would offer something. It's like, you guys go home. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you guys
it's like,
go home.
It's not, that's a dude's life.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, at least you're...
That's horrible.
At least you're showing the other employees that their lives matter.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that's what's so... Yeah. Even if they didn't even particularly know that dude or like that dude, it's just kind of like, they're like, oh, Jesus, if that happened to me, like, what if I fell in a machine and, like, got horribly mangled or something? Like, they wouldn't care.
They'd be like,
oh, well,
goes on.
Next.
Yeah.
Like, it's really dehumanizing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine anything
You're
more?
like those slaves rowing the ship down
That's
the
what I was thinking of. That's exactly what I thought
rowing.
Of. All right, throw them overboard.
Yeah.
Next, you're up.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
They said that's what, like I said, it's very dehumanizing. And it's just kind of like, yeah, if it didn't happen to you, or if you didn't even know that dude, but it's just kind of like, just the whole reaction to it just goes to show how much they valued the people that worked there. Like, not at all. You were just kind of like there to serve them, and you weren't even a person.
I think they were just dumb. Because even people that fucking didn't value, like a true psycho that doesn't really fucking
at least they'd pretend.
Would be smart enough to go, what am I supposed to do? What would be the best move?
Yeah, even if they don't feel like a normal person.
Give them the rest of the day off so that way they feel like they're worth something. Yeah, okay, give them the rest of the day off. Tell them how bad you feel. Yeah, that's what I would do. But they weren't too dumb to even think of that.
Yeah.
You know, they were psychos, but they're just dumb.
They were dumb psychos.
Dumb psychos, yeah.
Because like you said, the scary thing about psychos is that they actually don't feel emotions like normal people, but they're smart enough to fake it.
They can fake
because they know that other people do feel, and they know what they're supposed to do.
Right, yeah.
Whereas these people just seem like they really didn't care about that dude, and they weren't even smart enough to pretend that they did.
A real psycho, high-functioning psychopath would be like, oh, well, fuck that dude. But you know what? Other people aren't thinking that. So I got to do something.
They know they're not normal.
Yeah, I got to do something to make other people think I'm not going, fuck that guy. So what would I do? Okay, I'm going to do this and that. Fucking then I'll
they know how to perform.
It's a performance.
Normalcy, even if they don't feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although the weird thing, I think some psychopaths think everyone else is performing it too, but they're not.
Yeah, yeah, that's another thing. Because sometimes I do get that feeling. I do get that feeling when fucking something I don't really feel anything, and I think other people don't really feel anything about it. But we all have to pretend that because I've been in situations like that.
But no, actually,
And
like,
I'm a bit of a
legit,
psycho.
some people... Well, yeah, but legit, some people do care. But I think that's...
Yeah.
People that don't care or, like,
Yeah.
have sociopathic or psychopathic tendencies,
Yeah.
they think that because they're faking it, that everyone else is faking it, too. But that's not the case.
Yeah, no, it's not. But I know that some people are, though.
Yeah, well, some people are.
Yeah.
But most people aren't. Like I said, in this situation, 99% of people would be horrified.
Yeah.
And would just be like, oh my God. And then if you reacted like that, if your bosses reacted like that, you would be doubly horrified because like that's how they think of us. They don't care about us at all. Like they just, we're just like a cog in the machine.
I consider myself to be high functioning. People that I care about, I have the feelings for. If I don't really care about you, I don't really have it. If you're an enemy, fuck no, I hate you. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people are actually like that. But I'm not sure, It's hard. It's hard
I don't
to
think
tell.
so. That's the thing. I don't think it's just as common as you think.
Friends, family, children, animals. I have feelings for all them. People that I know, people that I care about, but just that people that I'm not really connected to. No, I don't really have. Now, if I see something go down, and I could stop it with not much risk to myself, I'll do that. If the risks are too high, well, this is just how it goes. And I think most people would, even a woman who's who doesn't have the strength to fucking stop something, even though she might be very compassionate, she's too scared to do anything.
Yeah, I guess that depends more on the person. Like some people might want to do something but they're afraid to, or they might freeze or something like that. Yeah, because everyone reacts different.
But there's some times where I see two dudes fighting. Fuck those dudes. You know what I mean? Fucking.
Well, I
don't know either one of them.
I wouldn't intervene with something like that because I was just kind of like, they probably had.
They seem to be trying to kill each other. I don't really know what it's about. It's none of my business.
I mean, if it was like a gang of people like ganging up on one obviously helpless person, like that's a different thing. But if it's just like two dudes,
that's not my reaction.
That clearly look like they have a beef with one another.
If I see a bunch of dudes beating up on some dude who seems to be helpless and shit like that, that's not my reaction. My reaction is more like he probably did something wrong. That's really how
I would not see it that way.
For all I know, that dude's a pedo. He just got caught. For all I know,
I'm
thinking there's some reason why. Because that's just based on my experience.
But the reason might be that gang of people are terrible and they thought they were a vulnerable person.
If that's the case, I'm not jumping into a fight with fucking where I'm going to be outnumbered 8-1 the hard way.
Well, yeah, I mean that's another thing. You do have to.
So
you don't want to get killed too.
Right, yeah. So
but it's just kind of like I'm just saying.
Violence is a way of my life. I made a living at it in the military. I fucking understand numbers, all kinds of shit, what the repercussions are. Sometimes when I'm fucking loaded, I can fucking kind of outrun and do fucking the wrong thing sometimes, but I'm still basically it's just second nature. You know what I mean? Just because they're beating up on some fucking group of people beating up a dude, my first thing is that he did something. That's my first.
I guess it would depend on the context. I wouldn't immediately assume that, but I mean like I said, it would depend on the context.
I'm suspicious. So, you got 8 people beating up on this one dude. He
did
something wrong.
But the thing about it is that I've written about a lot of cases where, maybe not 8 dudes, but maybe like 3 or 4 dudes like ganged up on like, a dude that was gay or something like that. And just, you know what I mean?
That doesn't mean he did something. That doesn't mean he did. That didn't mean he
was
innocent either. He might have did something wrong also.
Yeah, but that doesn't excuse it.
It's just like the beginning of fucking The Thing. They got dudes in a helicopter chasing a dog. They're shooting at a dog. Everybody's going like, man, stop shooting a dog. That is not a fucking dog.
Yeah, but how often is that scenario going to happen? That the dog is actually an alien?
That was a lesson that I picked up just in life, is that sometimes a bunch of people fucking know something you don't.
It could be. But like I said, that's, one, that's fictional. 2, the very reason that scene works so well is because you would not expect that dog to not be a dog. You know what I mean? Because most people would be like, what the fuck? Like, why are you shooting at a dog? Yeah. Because most normal people would think that was horrible, which it is.
The dog is representative of, say, in this, okay, we're talking about mythology. Fictional stories are used to tell real truths. That goes back to religion and shit. Those are all fictional stories. But it's the same thing. You see something that looks helpless and innocent, and people attacking it, you assume that that's what you see. That may not be what it is. That helpless, innocent person might be guilty of something.
Yeah, but like I said, I wouldn't necessarily jump to that. Because I don't know the situation, so I wouldn't necessarily
I'm from the mirror universe. Well, I'm in Dune. I'm not in Star Trek.
Well, good for you. But I'm just saying that it's just, you know what I mean? So
I'm gonna find out what's happening first.
So not only so they didn't give a shit about this dude dying. There was this other woman, and they actually did interview her on the documentary. I think this is the same woman they were talking about, because I found like a snippet of an interview with her in the Jezebel article, and then there was a woman talking at length like on the documentary. I think this is the same woman, so I think this is the same situation. And what happened with her was that she was supposed to go to the toy fair, which, you know, it happens every year. It's a big fucking deal. It's like all the big companies go. They introduce their new lines for the year. It's, like I said, it's a huge fucking deal. And all the big companies send their thing. And so Lisa Frank had this woman, and she was supposed to go to the toy fair. And the day before it happened, I think it was the day before, her husband was like in this really bad, I think it was an ATV accident, right? He's all fucked up. Like, he broke his arm, he broke his leg. It's like he punctured his lung or some shit like that. And he was all messed up. And so he was in the hospital. So the woman goes to Lisa and says, you know, look, I can't go. I can't go to the toy fair. Like, my husband's in a terrible accident. Like, I want to stay here and be with him, which, like I said, totally normal, right? Totally normal, totally understandable. Oh, Lisa was not having that. She's like, she basically screamed at me. She's like, why do you need to stay here? It was his fault. He shouldn't have been out on that thing, and it's his fault he got in the accident. You don't need to be, you know, this is the only time you'll get this opportunity. And she's like, she was like freaking out at this poor woman. And the woman was just kind of like, yeah, well, okay, well, I'm just going to the hospital, like, to see my husband, because I have a life outside of this shithole company, and I really don't need you, like, berating me about it. So yeah, so as you can see, well, like I said, I think just from what I could see, it seemed that James was worse, but Lisa was no fucking bed of roses either. I think they were both had no business, like, running a company or that dealt with employees. They were very short-sighted. It seemed like they were like, everyone's here for me, and you have to do exactly what we want, and you can't have lives outside of, you know, everything has to be for us. Everything has to make us more money, and we don't want anything outside of life. It felt like they were always kind of like, if you had anything going on outside in your life, like your kid was sick or anything like that, like, they didn't want to hear it. Like, no excuses. You have to be here. You have to be here the hours we want you to be here. Loyalty is everything. And that was, like, the only thing they cared about. So, you know, I feel like there was, like, no work-life balance kind of shit going on. Which, like I said, that's going to be very demoralizing for people that work there. So, James actually was the CEO for about 10 years. Like I said, like, Lisa is still... Because what she had done, I think when they got married, like, or shortly after they got married, Lisa actually gifted James 49% of the shares of the company. She retained 51%, so she was still, you know, the majority owner, but he still had, like, an almost half share in the company. And after she had her kids, she kind of took a more passive role. She wanted to, you know, raise her kids, and she still worked from home and came into the office every now and then to check on everyone was doing, but she mostly let James run the stuff. And according to employees, this is one employee's, and this is a direct quote, he really turned the place into a shithole. The guy's kind of a dick. And I was like, yeah, that was kind of also the impression that I got. And I will say that 15 or 16 people, rather, who had worked there over the years, they brought a lawsuit against James And, so a lot of them gave, testimony as to, like, the way he treated them and shit like that. They said he was super mean, that he would just, swear at people and throw shit, like throw chairs and tables.
Well, of course, he can regress into all these fucking little childish.
Yeah, he was just like a toddler.
Yeah, and nobody's gonna call him out. He's the boss.
Mm-hmm.
This is a person who can't handle authority. They can't.
Yeah, this is definitely somebody that should not have any kind of leadership role ever.
No,
he should have just
he's
stuck.
not enough maturity.
He could have just stuck to art.
Yeah,
he's a good artist. I'm not shitting on his artistic ability. He's actually a good artist, but like I said, sometimes, not always, some artistic people are good at more management kind of stuff. I'm not, and most people I know that are artistic aren't good at that kind of shit. And like I said, that's no shade. It's just a different personality type. And I don't really particularly want to be good at it because I don't enjoy that end of it at all. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a management person. And I kind of feel like he got a little bit of a taste of power and he just kind of like fucking ran with it. And he was not good at emotional regulation. Let's put it that way. So when something made him mad, he just had a fucking tantrum about it. Like he would just like, a couple of the employees said that he's like, we'd have this round table where you draw your new ideas, like your characters or whatever. And then they'd put them out on the table, like for them to come by and approve or say which ones they liked or ones that needed more work or whatever. And they're like, one time we had all our drawings out on the table and he just came out and he's like, this is all bullshit. And he just like, and just like threw the fucking table over and everybody's shit went everywhere. And it's like, and that was like a pretty common occurrence, which like I said, this is not anywhere you would want to work. This is like living in an abusive household where you have to walk on eggshells around this sensitive ass man who can't fucking deal with his big feelings. You know what I mean? And so he's just always lashing out. And nobody wants to work in an environment like that. It's just not good for anybody. I can see why people got PTSD being around that all the time. They said also he was quite verbally abusive toward Lisa, who, was still his wife at that time. Many of them said he was straight up called him abusive. They said he was very arrogant. Said he was very difficult to work with. And yeah, he just like would throw shit and everything like that. This was a quote from a woman who was a general sales manager. She said, James's management style is abrasive and he often leads by intimidation. He is often abusive to some of his employees by his language and actions. He will never take someone to the side if he has an issue with them. Instead, he will scream and curse and belittle them in front of everyone. Whenever he hasn't liked someone or they've crossed him in some way, he makes their work life miserable by his constant abusive comments and harassment. Mm-hmm. He also had a thing, which I'm sure he probably thought was cute, where he wouldn't bother to learn anyone's names, and he would just make up kind of insulting nicknames for people. Yeah. Like this one person said, I had a friend that worked there, and she was a woman, and, she was, maybe not the most attractive woman or whatever. And James called her that guy. It was like shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're dealing with a dude who fucking has never been fucking trained or vetted or selected to fucking wield any kind of power of authority inside of an organization.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the military is extremely fucking toxic and fucking very abrasive, but it's fair. Everything that this dude's doing, you could do, but it has to be justified. You can throw a fucking chair, you can fucking do it. It has to be a justified thing, and it has to yield a certain kind of result. What he's doing is fucking counterproductive to the unit. The result that he's going to yield is actually going to backfire on you. And he's doing it on people who are just trying to do their job or trying to help. That's not how, that's not how you do it in a
that's gonna just breed resentment because it's like, why is this dude acting like a fucking toddler?
Right. Yeah.
I'm just trying to do something he likes.
Yeah.
You can just tell me, hey, if you don't like something I drew, like in this situation, all you'd have to do is be like, hey man, can we do something more like this? Or, I'm a graphic designer. I get criticism if somebody doesn't like something I did, but they're not assholes about it. They're just kind of like, oh, let's try something more like this. Or, they'll show me a picture, maybe something more like this. I had this idea. And like that works way better. Like you don't have to be fucking offensive. You don't have to be a douche about it. It's just,
I got my girl side quest hero in here. She's ex-army also. and she probably attest to fucking some of the shit during. I was in during the '90s. Fucking, it was fucking hard in the '90s, right? Early '90s. But compared to the Army, softened up a lot. It needs to toughen back up, but that's just anyway. Some of the most beloved fucking commanders we had were mean as fuck. They were just fucking mean, but they were funny about how and they were always fair. You know, they would forgive and forget. They punished people who were fucking guilty. They kept everybody alive. They have to. They're dealing with a bunch of fucking young killers in their 20s. You know, it was all dudes back in those days. You couldn't lead with any kind of fucking a face of weakness. You had to be fucking strong and terrible and fearful. But it had to be justified. You know? Because then after it was done, it was like, yeah, that's right. You know? But men respond real well to that. But it's situational too. This guy's not in the right situation. This is an office situation.
Yeah, and like I said,
it's not quite the same deal.
They work for a company where we're drawing cute characters to sell on like school supplies for children.
Yeah, and you're not dealing with people that fucking are training to kill other human beings for a living.
Yeah, it's a completely different context.
This is a completely different type of dude.
What exactly do you think you're going to accomplish by throwing tables at them?
Right. Where I came from was like a maximum security federal prison with guns. It was like that. And they were going to send you to other places to fucking burn the place down. Dudes are hard to control, man. If they don't fear you, they don't respect you. You know, and that was the way that was why the Army back then was the way it was. And it had to be funny, too. So our commanders, our good ones were fucking, but they were all mean. If they weren't mean, that was kind of like a sign of weakness. Very much like the Klingons out of fucking Star Trek in a certain way. It was like kind of like that. And it was a warrior cult, too. Out of like fucking Art of Self-Defense. That was a great movie. Funny movie. But so yeah, this guy fucking is a very toxic leader who this has all gone to his head. And he's bullying people who don't have the strength or the skills to kill him in retaliation if he oversteps his bounds. You know what I mean? Because there were all kinds of murders in my unit. Fucking mass shootings even. You know, shit would hit the news. Fucking dude shot up the fucking... killed the fucking first sergeant and everything. But it was just, you know, this dude here, he's a lightweight. He's like bossing around people that are making girl stickers.
It's a completely different situation. Like I said, it's not analogous because it's just kind of like it's...
No, these are civilians.
Well, no, it's just what do you hope to accomplish by like treating people like this? It's not... You're not going to get what you want. By acting this way.
And a dude like me, if I work there, and the reason why I'm fucking, the VA pays me not to work is because if I ended up in a place like this, I'd beat that fuck out of that dude. I don't care about going.
I mean, I'm not gonna. Violence is usually not the answer, probably, but I mean, somebody should have slapped him at least once.
Beating the fuck out of that dude would be a
maybe he would have learned something.
Yeah, it would be a transformative.
Maybe he would have learned something.
It would be a transformative spiritual.
Because some people, I have seen like some people, I'm just like, man. You've never been punched in the face, and it shows. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I said, it depends on the situation.
Put him in a very uncomfortable fucking lock and get him to say things. You're my bitch, aren't you? You're my fucking bitch. Yeah, I'm your bitch. Yeah, you get him to say that in front of other people. If not, you break his arm, you know. And he was a weak man. I saw him. He's weak. I could kill 3 of those barehanded. You know. Fuck that dude. Just a bully.
Yeah, so some of the other stuff that employees said about him called him a very angry man, a pompous jerk, mean. They said he was pretty short, and he, quote, reeked of cologne. They also thought that he had a Napoleon complex.
Okay, yeah.
Another person that worked there, and this is also a direct quote, people who worked directly with James couldn't wear heels. He said it was because they couldn't walk fast enough to keep up with him. In reality, he has short man syndrome and didn't like working with women taller than him.
Yeah, probably. How tall was he?
I don't know. You couldn't tell from the documentary.
Shit, I'm 5'6". I love tall women.
Erica says short man syndrome. Bah. Yeah.
It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Well, some people do have it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't. But like, some people do. Like people with this kind of personality, yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, I've dated many tall women. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, you're not insecure. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I would go for the tall ones because they had it worse than me. At 5'6".
Tall women kind of.
Tall women have it worse.
They do have it much harder than the short guys.
It's fucking
way harder.
We'd be the odd couple.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 5'6", she's 6 feet. You know. And
yeah.
just
Super tall women have a really hard time. Really hard time.
Yeah.
And also I talked about old Rhonda before too. Nobody, quote unquote, the Enforcer, or as I mentioned, the Darth Vader to James Green's Emperor Palpatine. You know, that's kind of what they called them. They hated her too, but they said the weird thing about it was that her and James were super close, but he would like berate her too. He like called her fat, which back then she was not. She's a little like tubby old lady now, but back in the day they showed pictures of her. Like when all of this was going on, like she was just a regular sized woman, like fairly slender, I thought. But he would call her fat and stupid and all this other kind of shit. So, you know, he's a real fucking prize. And just kind of belittling her all the time. And many of the employees, came from multiple employees. And this is all alleged. Don't sue me. Many employees have made the allegation that both James and Rhonda were big cokeheads. And like I said, this is quotes from employees. This is not me saying that. I wasn't there, anything like that. This is a quote. James and Rhonda were pretty big into coke. There would be days when James would come down super sweaty and super paranoid and just like walking really fast back and forth through the design area. And there was nothing to be stressed about. It was just a regular day. Also, he said, we saw Rhonda come to work from time to time just totally fucked up. She couldn't even stand up straight. And another employee said, and this is also a direct quote, James regularly sent her, this other employee, with an unmarked box or a paper bag to meet someone at a gas station or a parking lot. She was supposed to exchange her package for theirs and not look inside. He also had her buy his Viagra and his porn.
Damn. Okay.
Like another employee, like at the place.
He didn't want to He didn't want to be seen buying it?
Now, yeah, I guess. Now, according to James, because they did ask him about this on the documentary, he did not deny doing coke in the 80s and 90s. He's like, oh, everyone was doing it if it was everywhere. I was like, well, I wasn't, but okay. I was a little young. But he's like, well, I never did it at work, though. But I'm going to, like, multiple employees said that he was acting super coked up. Like, which would explain the rage and the paranoia, because they said he acted super paranoid and, like, just... And they said that Rhonda was into it, too.
Yeah, they were fucking going to work getting high.
Yeah. Also, and I don't think they mentioned this in the documentary, but I found this in an article. Lisa probably came in the office, like, once a month. Like I said, after she had her kids, she took, like, more of a backseat role, even though she owned the majority shares. But she would come in every now and then. But the employees said that they found a letter, like it was kind of taped on. They said they had an archive room where they kept all the original artwork. And they found this letter that was kind of like stuck to the back of one of the paintings or whatever. And it was from Lisa's friend to Lisa. And in the letter, it was talking about how much fun they had with Lisa freebasing and whoring around New York City. And the employee said, man, we all, like, Xeroxed that shit. Like, we thought that was so fucking funny.
Who was whoring around?
Lisa and her friend.
They were whoring
And they were
around.
doing coke, like, all around you. So some people said, well, maybe Lisa was doing that shit, too. Like, well, at least, like, back in the day. Because I don't know how long ago
the
letter was
around?
from.
Just fucking sleeping with dudes?
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, what is whoring around?
What does whoring around actually mean? I mean, in my book, whoring around actually kind of more means like you're selling it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's...
if you... I mean, basically,
just giving it away.
Yeah, in vernacular, if you say whoring around, they're just like, oh, yeah, you're just like going... Like having a bunch of one-night stands.
Yeah.
I would never... I know whore has a...
Yeah.
Like you're paying for it.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like if you say whoring around just...
That's what they're talking about.
Just casually, I think you just mean, oh, you're just sleeping around. Like, you know what I mean?
That's not fair.
Girl
gotta have fun.
That's what I mean.
Well, she wasn't single, but she was probably in an open
Well,
relationship.
now, like I said, this might have been prior to her getting married.
Yeah, okay.
Because I don't know when the letter was from.
Yeah.
Because she had been in New York City with a friend, so it might have been before she got married. So I'm not judging. It's always like some
shit some dude says. She's whoring around.
Yeah, see, well, that's the thing. And it's better nowadays, but I feel like there's still kind of a little bit of a double standard.
Yeah.
Where it's like dudes can sleep around all they want, and it's fine. It's actually positive even. But if a woman does it, it's like, whoa.
It's like, dude, it's not your pussy.
Your pussy's going to get baggy or whatever the fuck.
She's going to give it to whoever she wants to give it to. It's not yours. You know?
The hilarious thing about it is because I just brought up that whole myth that like, oh, if you sleep with a lot of dudes, like your pussy gets loose or whatever. Yeah. I was just kind of like, funnily enough, they never think that sleeping with the same man for several years makes your pussy get loose, but sleeping with different dudes over the same period of time will make your pussy get loose. It doesn't make any sense. You know, that's a myth anyway.
My upbringing, I never even thought of that. I was very popular as a young guy in high school. Fucking grandpas went to high school with me, and then when I was in Brazil in the high school, I was like an original passport bro. That never fucking crossed my mind. Never. The only thing I worried about was AIDS.
Yeah, I mean, you have to worry about that kind. I mean, you do have to worry about that. So it's like it's not like you can't. You just have to have a conversation about it, clearly. Yeah. But it's just kind of like you can't.
The whole getting loose thing. I never even thought about that because I never ran into that.
It's a myth.
Yeah, the only time I ever did run into that was when you're sleeping with women that had children, and it was like after they had children.
And like I said,
and I don't know how permanent that is.
Well, and the thing about it too is one, every pussy is different.
Yeah.
Some of them are looser than others. Some of them are tighter than others.
Yeah.
After you have kids, they usually it tears. A lot of the times. Most of the time they sew it back up.
Yeah.
There is a thing, I don't know how common this is nowadays. They used to call it the husband stitch.
Yeah.
And they would put extra stitches in it to make you tighter for the husband, which seems ever so sexist to me. Like, because a lot of times they wouldn't ask you, they'd ask your husband, like, while you were out of it. Like, hey, you want me to add some more stitches in there? You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Jen knows that I'd probably want some stitches out. Well,
I don't know how common that still is, but that was very common for a very long time. Because, like I said, most of the time it does tear.
That's weird.
And they do have to stitch it back up.
That's weird. I never had that.
But it's a thing. They call it the husband stitch.
No, there's only a couple I ran into that I noticed, and it was always a woman that had just given birth within a year or so.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like
that's not really like never really made that much of a difference to me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not like it's not like a hot dog in a hallway situation.
Yeah, that may be out there, but because everything is out there.
Yeah, but like I said, that might have been just what. And it might just because, like I said, everybody's different sizes and different. Like everybody's naturally different.
Well, even Morrissey says some girls are bigger than others.
True.
Yeah.
I thought he was talking about tits or asses. I didn't know if he was talking about vaginas.
What he's talking about.
I assumed he was talking about tits, but
I'm not sure. As a man, I thought he was talking about the hot dog in the hallway fucking syndrome.
It could have been that. I mean, my brain went to tits first, just because he's British and tits are a big British thing. But it's just kind of was where mine went. My mind went, but I don't know. He could be talking about lots of things.
It says some girls' mothers are bigger than other girls' mothers.
Sure, but like I said, that could also be tits.
Could be.
It's mystifying.
I don't know. I don't know what Morrissey's talking about.
High Desert, nobody knows what Morrissey's talking about. He's talking a bunch of crap usually.
Yeah.
But High Desert says, I just read the Jezebel article. Yeah, I got a lot of my shit from there. Like I got my shit mostly from the Jezebel article, which is great, by the way. Or from the documentary that we watched. And Wikipedia and all those other kind of places. But he said, what a pair of nutcases. I couldn't imagine working there for more than one day. Yeah, me neither. And I've worked in some shitty places, but I've never worked anywhere quite this shitty. Although the Scientology place approached that. I never really got yelled at, or I didn't have a table or chair thrown at me at the Scientology place, to be fair. But they did make you do L. Ron Hubbard classes for the first half hour every day. And if you made any snarky comments in your little essays that you had to make, which I can't help but do because sarcasm, it's my natural language. I couldn't help it. Especially when I was reading this stupid ass shit. So that's gonna come out. And like so, and then I would get called in the office. They didn't yell at me.
Erica's laughing about Kegels.
Yeah.
She had to come. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you can do that shit. I don't. But like I said, I don't. You know what? I kind of feel like it's sort of the same thing. It's like, well, you know, and this is gross, but like your anus is also a muscle. It's like, so every time you take a big huge shit, like you think it's just gonna stay like that, like that it doesn't tighten back up. That's your vagina just tightens back up.
All you gotta do is just look at the porn and those size queens that are out there. They can put anything into anything if they fucking train for it.
And it just pops back
about
out.
those Kegels,
that's what that shit is for.
And why would you want it smaller? There's a lot of dudes out there that fucking probably be more impressive if it was bigger. Fucking sit down on a coffee can and see what happens. Just watch this, honey. Fucking, that shit is so fucking
It's like a cool party trick.
Do that shit again. Fucking yeah. Look, here's a fire extinguisher. Fucking oh man, let me get the camera. Hold on. That shit is so fucking hot. I like that kind of.
I mean, I'm impressed by that also.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't
stunts and shit.
I can't really do that, but like, well, you have to work up to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most people could do that, but you can't just jump into that. You gotta work.
They got some girls on fucking.
You gotta work up to it.
They got some girls that are fucking creating fucking shit at home. They're just better than any fucking studio porn star at fucking what they can take. And you know they had to have practiced for that shit.
Well, yeah, of course. Like I said, you can't just. I mean, you can.
Like, that you go, yeah.
You can just jump into it, but it hurts a lot.
Yeah.
So you just have to. But if you work your way, you ease your way.
Baby can come out of there, a lot of stuff, you know. And then they fucking. Okay, look, I'm gonna give y'all. There's a fucking chick named Argendana. She's from somewhere in South America. It's all anal. We're talking about the butt. All right, it's fucking amazing. And her husband, just making videos.
Yeah, Zach says, as a gay man, I can definitely comment on that one. The things I've seen are both impressive and just nauseating. Like, yeah, and like I've seen some impressive shit too.
Yeah. She's an acrobat. Like,
yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah, like well, I'm just like, how is that even fitting in her body? Like you think it would come out her mouth?
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen a couple like that where I was like, that should totally come out her mouth. She is like not tall enough. She does not have enough room inside the body for that not to come out her mouth. I don't understand it. But like I said, it's a talent I do not possess. Like I said, if I really wanted to do it, I guess I could fucking work myself up to it. But I just don't have the time right now. You know what I mean? It's just that. But well, that's the thing. As far as vaginas go, yeah, I mean, technically a baby could come out of there. You know, obviously some women have a lot more trouble than others. It kind of depends on how wide your pelvis is and various other things. And sometimes the shit they do get stuck and they have to pull them out and stuff. So, but technically you should be okay with whatever size is going in there because it'll just snap back. But like I said, most of the time, if you have a baby, it does it does rip it. So they usually do have to stitch it back. Not always, but most of the time. They do have to stitch it back. Because it kind of tears your shit out. So, So maybe we're not as... maybe we're not really supposed to have kids with fucking heads that big. I always tell my mom, like... Because, this last Sunday was Mother's Day. I didn't tell her this last Mother's Day. But I'm always just kind of like, damn... Because I was a huge baby. I think I was 12 pounds. I was a big baby. And, man, I feel so... And my mom was, like, only 18 when she had me. I was like, oh, my poor mom. She never complained about it, though. I was like, I guess it was okay. But holy crap. When I saw because she had a little plate, like a little commemorative ceramic plate that had, like, a little baby me painting on it and, like, my little name and my little birth date and how much I weighed when I came out. I was like, well, I was 12 pounds when I came out. 12 pounds. And I was just kind of like, fucking hell. That's actually, like, me and all my siblings were pretty large babies. My poor mom. She just kept having them, though. She loves it. So, I guess I didn't hurt her too bad. Terrible. Women go through so fucking much, man. It's a good thing we have high pain tolerance. That's all I can say. If dudes had to have babies, the human race would have died out a long time ago. But, yeah. So they think everybody's on coke. Also... They thought, to be fair, in the documentary, both James and Rhonda, who, like I said, much older now, vehemently deny this. However, most of the employees at the place said we were pretty sure that James and Rhonda were fucking. Both of them were married, obviously. Rhonda is still married to the same guy. They've been married for like 50 years at this stage.
She denies it.
She denied it. James denied it.
Yeah.
He said there was nothing going on. But most of the employees suspected that there was something going on. I believe that Lisa always also suspected something was going on.
Physically, they were a closer fit. They were both better. They were both pretty good looking.
They hung out together like all the time.
You would think that maybe something would. There's no evidence though.
Yeah, I wouldn't jump to that because, it's like they're co-workers and stuff like that. But I don't know. Most of the employees did seem to think like...
It could have just been buddies.
Maybe. Like some of the employees said, yeah, she was screwing him. It's like they called them fuck buddies. They worked really closely together. They were like together all the time. And this was after Lisa had, was working from home. So she wasn't in the office.
Yeah.
And both of them were. And like this one employee said, this was really weird. And this is also a direct quote. This is also from the Jezebel article. Said, my wife and I were shopping at Tucson Mall over the 4th of July weekend in 2005. And we stopped by the Lisa Frank retail store. Because, like I said, they had their own stores in malls back then.
I missed it.
We were surprised to see James and Rhonda together in the store on that 3-day weekend. We had a short conversation with them. With James, Rhonda didn't say much. After we left them, we both thought it strange that they would be together and that Rhonda acted sort of caught off guard at seeing us and acted uncomfortable. We wondered why James wasn't with his family and Rhonda wasn't with her husband on a holiday weekend. They just thought it was super fishy. And like I said, a lot of the I think a lot of the employees like thought that both of them were fucking and were also like doing drugs together. Allegedly. Like I said, they both vehemently deny this, that there was anything going on. But everyone was kind of suspicious of it. And Lisa seemed like she was also suspicious of it, and she filed for divorce in 2005. And one of the things that she cited was that she didn't come outright and say that she thought they were having an affair, but she thought that they had what she called a close personal bond and a quote-unquote secret partnership. So maybe she thought that they were either fucking or they were like colluding against her in some way, or I guess.
They may have been friends. I'm
sure
they were friends.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they were friends.
Yeah.
Whether or not they were actually fucking.
I'm not
There's
really
no
sure.
evidence. Nobody could know.
Also,
They want the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. And like I said, they both vehemently deny this. Fair enough. Maybe there wasn't anything going on, but a lot of people did think there was something going on.
60% chance they were. 40% chance they weren't. That's a gentleman's bet.
Yeah.
The psycho in me says, no, it sounds like they were. 75% probably. But, like, I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't there. I didn't see what they saw.
Yeah, we're just hearing other people.
We're just hearing what other people are saying.
Sometimes you can tell just by the body language. But,
But, this was many years ago, and they're both old now.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. Like I said, they were
It
both
may have been nothing.
married at this stage. Maybe they were just really close friends. I don't know. And Lisa had actually told at least one of her friends that she was scared of James and that he had been verbally abusing her, like, for a long time, which that honestly doesn't shock me because, he was verbally abusing his employees and he verbally abused Lisa in front of them, like, many times, which a lot of the employees were very uncomfortable with, obviously. Actually, one of the illustrators that they talked to on the documentary said it's like, nobody likes when mommy and daddy are fighting. It was that kind of thing, where it's like they all felt like children in the office and these two were just constantly screaming at one another. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
What was that noise she made?
Petite. Petite.
I never heard her make that noise before.
Give me a little squeak.
The little squeaky noise.
Yeah.
She usually goes to,
Yeah.
she usually goes
That's her dog sound.
That's what she usually does.
You guys don't even fucking know that happened. This cat is in my fucking shit. Fucking 24/7, man. She's constantly in my fucking face.
She loves you so much. She loves her daddy. So
I can't live a normal life. It's just every time fucking Pookie. Hey, daddy. Just
yeah.
Constantly, daddy.
It's like having a toddler that never grows up.
Yeah, she never grows up. She's constantly fucking with me.
So cute.
Daddy, do this. Yeah, she constantly want to play the string. String.
Yeah.
She'll play with string all day long. Pet me.
You know what's funny? Every single morning, like, you know, I'll get up at whatever, 6:30 or whatever, and I make a pot of coffee.
Yeah.
And do some work. And then when he gets up and he takes a shower and then he comes in to get a cup of coffee, and Pookie sees him come in and she's like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And she runs in here and runs in my bathroom and jumps up on the bathroom counter and sits there waiting for him to brush her.
And look at me. Yeah, because she wants to be brushed.
Yeah. She wants to, because her brush is in there. In my bathroom.
I got to brush her face, the top of her head, both sides of her face.
And she just sits there very patiently and waits.
Yeah.
She's like, Daddy came in to get coffee.
Yeah,
then
she'll try to get that done 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
In the morning. And then every time I come back, get another cup of coffee. She runs up there, come on, she's on top of the sink. Come on. I'm ready.
Brushy again.
And she sits there waiting for the brush to show up. Says, you want another brush? Brushy? She's like, yeah.
Yeah, she knows that. She knows that word.
Brushy. In other words, brushy.
Yeah, she knows that word.
Yeah. So I brush her 3 times a day.
I brushed her earlier, too.
Yeah, she tries to get brushes out of her.
Yeah, so, and if Daddy's not here, then, like, if she sees me, she'll be like, oh, and then she'll run, and then she'll sit up there and look at me, like, all guilty.
Yeah, brush.
Please. And I'm just like, okay. So I have to get from because I can see the bathroom, like, from right through there.
Yeah.
It's just...
She's a baby.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's okay. We love
She's
them.
brushing teeth.
We love
she's
them.
brushing hair, so she wants, you know...
So she also wants brush.
Brush, yeah.
She's like, you guys brush?
Yeah.
I want brush. I'm covered with hair.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I have like a big brush that's her. That's the Pookie brush. Because she sheds a lot. Like Bambi sheds a little bit, but Pookie she's like a classic Manx, so she has like a double coat. It's super thick. And so, man, you comb like that and it's like fucking tumbleweeds, man. Like it's so much hair. And like it's still the same thickness. It's crazy.
Erica in there laughing over our conversation about kegels and pussies and tightness.
Yeah.
So fucking fun. Were you...
I mean...
Yeah, it happens, man. I don't know how often you listen.
Yeah, she's here a lot.
This year, yeah. Where you from, Erica? What part of the United States?
Okay.
Good.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So I guess Lisa had told friends of hers that she was afraid of James and that he verbally abused her. I don't think she ever said Ohio. She says
Ohio. Oh, you're a Yankee girl. Well, that's not. Yeah,
that's not quite. That's
Yankee.
Midwest.
That's Midwest.
That's
yeah.
Midwest.
That's Midwest.
That's a totally different thing.
Dayton or Eaton, she's around there probably. Ohio, you know. I lived up right above you in Michigan for a while with Grafters.
Weirdly, I know a lot of people from Ohio. I went to high school with a lot of people that moved here from Ohio.
Ohio is very American, very flat, very boring. But it's okay. You know, good people up there. Cute girls up there. Cute girls up there.
You say that about everywhere.
No, I don't say that about everywhere. Michigan's got cute girls. Ohio
everywhere that comes up.
Yeah.
You say that about.
No, they were cute. It's a different brand though. They look different. A little more Slavic looking, or Scandinavian.
I don't know what I look like. I don't think I look like a Southern person or a Northern person or anything.
You do. You look Southern to me.
You think?
Yeah. You look like a Scots-Irish. A little bit of Native American, which a lot of us have in there.
Yeah, I do. My great-grandpa was.
Yeah.
My great-grandpa was Blackfeet.
Yeah.
John Hunter was his name. Let me see. Where was I? So
Especially your mom and your brothers.
Yeah, because
they look very much, very, very Southern. You not as much, even though you got the same dad. Mm-hmm. It's just the genetic. It's just the genes you got dealt. For some reason, you don't quite look like them.
Although I will say that me, my mom, and all my siblings look eerily similar.
Maybe when all your hair is the same color, maybe.
Yeah, I guess because I dye my hair black and because my hair is red, naturally. Yeah. And their hair is like reddish brown. Now my brother Brian has black hair naturally because my dad has black hair.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the black hair naturally. I got the red hair. Actually, I got the reddest hair in the whole family. The only people in my family that have hair as red as mine was before I dyed it were my maternal cousins. Yeah. Like my mom's sisters.
With Jen's hair dyed black, she actually looks a little bit Latin.
You think?
A little bit, yeah. You look like something maybe could come from Spain.
Yeah, I never really thought
got brown eyes.
I asked, like one time when I was in high school,
Yeah.
I was in a French class and we had French exchange students, and one of them asked me if I was from France.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really weird.
Yeah.
And I had red hair back then because I didn't start dyeing it until later.
Mm.
I thought that was strange. I'd never thought of that before. I was like, no. It's like, I can barely speak French. What are you talking about? So, you know. So, yeah. So I don't doubt, like I said, I don't think Lisa Frank was a great person either, but I don't doubt that he probably verbally abused her as well. Like I said, there's a lot of witnesses to that because they said he would do it in the office also. And also some of the employees said that before she'd even filed for the divorce, she would like ask people that worked there, like, if we divorce, like, would you stay with the company or would you leave or whatever? And so at this point, so they're breaking up. He moves out of their house in summer of 2005. And Lisa starts coming back to the company, taking like a more active role. And it seems at this point, they're both pretty aware that because she had a slightly, she had 51% share, he had 49% share. And so they knew that them divorcing was going to be like a legal shit show, right? Especially because he had been essentially running it for a decade. And it's pretty clear from watching the interviews with him on the documentary that he was pretty adamant that I run this shit now and this is my company and I made this company and blah, blah, blah. Even though, as far as the timeline goes, I kind of feel like they made the most money like in the early days, like maybe in the early days of him being CEO. So I don't know how much of it, he's kind of trying to paint it in the documentary as like everything was him. Like this company wouldn't exist without me. I'm the one that came up with this, that, and the other thing. And I think he's exaggerating a bit because honestly, like I said, he started there as an employee and only became CEO like later. So I kind of feel like they were successful throughout the 80s and 90s, like mostly when she was running it. And a lot of the employees seem to say that it really didn't start going super shitty until after he took over and she took a back seat, like after they had their kids. So I'm just, I don't know how it was. Like I said, I wasn't there, but it just kind of does seem like that to me. So like I said, Lisa starts coming into the office more, like kind of trying to, I guess, prepare herself for like all the legal shit show that's going to come her way. Right. And James starts getting the feeling, obviously, that she's going to try and, get him out of there, which, obviously. And so this whole war started. And some of the employees said it got so bad where, where she would come down, like, and say, hey, let's do this, that, and the other thing, like, tell them art direction or whatever. And then, like, a few minutes later, James would come down and be like, no, I run this fucking place. You have to do it like this, blah, blah, blah. So they were getting, like, conflicting directions all the time because the two of them were fighting. Obviously not great for the direction of the company, right? And so I feel like at this point, James and Rhonda kind of teamed up even more than they had. And according to a lot of people that worked there at the time, they said that James and Rhonda were starting to like kind of go behind Lisa's back and like try and like making it a factions. Like you got to pick a side. Like you're either with us or you're with Lisa. If we have to leave, we're going to start our own company and you can come and work for us and all this other kind of shit. So it got like pretty ugly, I kind of feel like. And it definitely seemed like, and some of the employees said this too, that they were saying that like if they left, they were kind of gunning to take a bunch of the best employees with them so that Lisa wouldn't have anybody to help her keep running her company. So they were trying to fuck her over. You know what I mean? And at this stage too, I feel like James, at least according to a lot of the employees, they said James had already been reading everyone's emails and listening to their phone calls and shit like that. Lisa started doing that too, allegedly, around this time. And I guess both of them were looking for like ammunition against the other. And so like I said, that doesn't foster a great working environment. That the phones were bugged and all this other, and the emails were being read by the bosses and shit like that. What?
They're asking to see pictures of you with red hair.
Oh.
That's Jen with red hair.
Well, that's my fake red hair. That's not even.
We're gonna find. Are there pictures on your site of your real red hair?
I might have posted a picture of me as a kid, but I don't know.
Okay.
Where it is, like on my Facebook somewhere.
I'm looking on your Facebook.
That's like.
Because she has fake red and real red.
I mean, that was just like fake. That's like fake ponytails that I just like put. The bangs were real hair.
There you go.
Where?
Here's Jen as a little kid.
There, that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, there she is. That's her natural color hair.
I think I was 6.
Yeah.
I think I was 6 or 7 in that picture. That was first grade or second grade.
Yep.
And you can't even really see how red it is in that picture.
Yeah.
In the sun, it looked orange. My hair did.
I'll keep looking.
Or like a copper penny. But like I said, it was kind of hard to...
Yeah, Jen looked great with red hair, though. That's more fake.
That was fake red hair.
More fake red hair, yeah.
That was when I dyed it red.
That's a few years ago.
I might do that again, but like I said, it's a huge pain.
Yeah. Look how cute Jen is with the fake red hair. It looks good.
But I had to put dye in it like every week to maintain that color.
Yeah.
And I had to bleach the shit out of it. I had to bleach it 3 times.
Yeah.
Before I put the red in to get it that saturated. And like I said, I had to dye it every single week.
You got so many good pictures. I gotta put these on mine.
Okay. You
gotta steal some of these.
You gonna steal them? You gonna steal all my pictures?
Boy, look at the difference in me. How I used to look.
Yeah, I know.
Fuck, I'm like 4 times that size.
Yeah, and that was. It's like
this is the way I was built before I started working out.
Yeah, that's in the bathroom at our old house.
Yeah. I'm like 5 times that size now. It's ridiculous.
I don't remember how many years ago that was.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so a lot of the employees started to complain. Like I said, their emails were being read, that the phones were being bugged because Lisa and James, who were going through a divorce but were still working at the same place. Like if Lisa came in, James would have gone in his office and closed the door because they didn't want to like interact. But they were, like I said, trying to turn the employees, or trying to get them to pick sides, which, like I said, not fucking great. And also, James and Rhonda allegedly stole a bunch of shit from, including several computers and artwork, stuff like that. Actually, one of the employees on the documentary said that James had come to him with this big stack of CDs. Like, remember when you had to burn stuff onto CDs? You don't have to do that anymore, obviously, because we have cloud now.
Some
but
old technology.
Yeah, but like he's like, he came to do this big stack of CDs and was like, copy all these files, because he was planning on going and starting his own company with his artwork, and and he wanted him to copy all of it off of the company servers. So, but he also stole a bunch of computers from the company, which he kind of got in trouble for later, because he said, it has a bunch of personal correspondence on it. I think it was 6 computers that he stole.
Him flirt with his girlfriend.
Huh?
Him flirt with his girlfriend. Bye.
Who is? What are you
He
talking
stole the computers because he was flirting all the shit. He was flirting
I mean,
with his
who
girlfriend.
knows? Yeah, who knows what was on there? But yeah, he stole a bunch of fucking So he was ordered to give, like, he had to give those back. Like, the judge told him he has to give those back. And, but he was like, it had all his personal stuff on it, which, yeah. So, yeah, that might have been proof that him and Rhonda were having an affair, possibly.
Could have been.
And then, so Lisa, she had to file a civil suit to bring James into, like, a shareholders meeting. It was really the 2 of them. But they had to, like, work something out, and she wanted to, like, elect a new board of directors, right? And then she also filed to get a temporary restraining order against him to keep him from stealing shit and harassing employees, which, like I said, he was trying to, like, turn other employees against her, allegedly. And she actually won that civil suit. And so at that point, the cops showed up at the company headquarters and escorted James and Rhonda's secretary out of the building. At which point, so they had to call the cops and got them out of there. So Lisa then took back over as CEO of the company. And after this, don't want to go too much into it, but there were at least 9 lawsuits filed between all the parties involved. So like I said, it got pretty ugly. Lisa was alleging that James had mismanaged the company, that he was attempting to sell it without telling her, even though she owned a majority share. James said no, like Lisa was like she wanted to sell it, she knew all about this, blah blah. Like I said, because of the the research and all of the stuff that came out, it was actually determined that since she had started the company in 1980 or whatever it was, the company had made over $1 billion in sales. How it all shook out generally was that James had to sell his shares back to Lisa, but like at a discounted price. So he not only lost his shares in the company, but he lost the rights to all of the artwork that he'd done, for the stickers and for the school supplies and stuff like that. Which, like I said, they had a bunch of artists, and a lot of them did characters. So I don't really know. Like I said, the way James was talking on the documentary, he made it seem like that's all my art and I made this company and blah, blah, blah. But it's like there was a bunch of other artists working there too. And they also did a bunch of artwork. So I don't really know how much, like what percentage of his artwork made it into the final, product, like more than the other artists. I don't really know. So I don't know how much merit like his claims have. I just don't know that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, after they got divorced, Hunter, who was the older son, he definitely went with his dad. He idolized his dad, and he really seemed to not get along with his mom at all, and just keeps kind of shit-talking his mom at every opportunity. Whereas the younger son went with his mom and kind of went and did shit with her. Like, the younger son's named Forrest. And so I feel like at the height of Lisa Frank's fame, there had been offers, and I'm not really sure why this never panned out. I've heard a couple of reasons. But they did have offers to do a theme park, like a Lisa Frank theme park. That's how big this was. I mean, this was huge. Like, I don't know, like I said, how big. I don't think anybody outside of the U.S. maybe like understands how big this was, but there were offers for them to do a whole Lisa Frank themed theme park. They were going to do a TV show. They were going to do all this other stuff. And so she was kind of, I think, in discussions to do that. And what I heard was it's like 2 options. Either she wanted to do it and James didn't, and he like put the kibosh on it. Because he's like, no, I'm running the shit. We don't want to do that. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. But I've also heard that by the time those offers came along, they were so mired in legal bullshit that it's like they didn't even have time to think about that. So I don't really know which one of those things is true. But it is true that there were talks, there was speculation that there would at least be a TV show and possibly a theme park that was based around this artwork. But that obviously never happened. So obviously after the divorce and after this whole shit show, after all these lawsuits, like I said, there were at least 9 between the various parties involved, between James, Lisa, Rhonda, Rhonda's husband. Like, it was a whole thing. So obviously, like, a lot of people started leaving. The company was kind of on the downtrend. Like, its kind of heyday had passed. People were moving on to other things. So it wasn't making as much money. So they started laying people off. And it got to a point where they had at one time, I think, had about 400 employees. And that included artists. That obviously included like a lot. They had 2 shifts in the warehouse. Also, they were producing. Because they had an in-house printing thing. They made all the shit like in house, and obviously so it went down from 400 employees to 100, and then by the time I think the late 2000s, mid 2000s came along, I think they were down to maybe 6 people, like not many, like it was just like a handful of employees left. And one guy, like on the documentary, I think this was much later, this might have even been 2015, but he said he went to apply for a job there, and he's like, I thought it was closed, like it looked abandoned, like the building was the same with all the rainbows and shit on it, but it's just kind of like, there was some of the front windows were boarded up. It's just like there was the landscaping was all fucked up and overgrown. And it's like, and you walked into the lobby, and it's like they had like these fiberglass statues of like some of their characters and stuff, and it was like really creepy, like fucking Five Nights at Freddy's or some shit like that. It's like it looked like a zombie apocalypse in there. Like there was like nobody around. Like it was really weird. So I kind of feel like as time went on, like, and they just started leaking like employees, they were just laying people off, people were quitting, and they didn't really have that many people left. And it seemed also that Lisa at this stage, I don't know why, I guess she'd been out of her for such a long time, but she was still trying to keep the company going, which they are still going to this day, but obviously not the heights they were at.
It'd be hard to be this big nowadays with the internet.
Yeah, I mean, and her main thing now is like licensing and like collaborations with other brands, which seems to be working out okay with her, but she's not making 60 mil a year like she was. So it's just kind of like,
world's changed.
Yeah, it's just a different thing. But like, she seemed to have like lost her mojo a little bit, I feel like, because she was just kind of like, she would approve designs and then she'd be like, no, never mind, I don't like that. And like, it seemed like she didn't really know what she wanted. And then like they seemed to kind of want to go, and this might have been partially James's idea that was a little bit of a leftover, but they kind of wanted to go, especially like around the 2010 area, they wanted to go less like in a cutesy nostalgia direction and more like Bratz doll. Like they drew some characters that looked more like Bratz dolls, because that was like a huge thing.
Selling hussies.
Yeah, and I think some of the employees were like, man, that's not really our brand. Like, we don't really do that. And they didn't really like it. And the public didn't really respond to it either. It's like, it wasn't really, I don't know. I feel like they were just trying to chase the market and it just wasn't working.
Japan had a woman like this. I forgot her name. But she was the girl behind Sanrio. And she's an old woman now. And she's
a hoot.
She still dresses in this crazy fucking Sanrio.
She seems like a really nice person.
Yeah. Sanrio is the company that did Hello Kitty.
Yeah, among other things.
Among other things. They had a bunch of little... But she was the main designer behind that. Saw a program about her.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
I could probably hang with her. Me and Jen could probably hang with her.
Yeah, she seems cool.
She seems real fucking funny. She's older. She's probably close to 60-something now.
Maybe older than that, even.
But she still wears this fucking Hello Kitty looking shit. She's kind of goth. But it's like pink.
Yeah.
Pink and black and all different
like,
colors. And
like
shit.
perky goth.
Yeah,
which
like
what they used to call it.
Yeah, they called it back then. Happy goth.
Yeah.
Kind of a cute woman. But
yeah.
She knew what things should look like to get the Sanrio look. Bad Bass Maru, Hello Kitty, all the little fucking side characters. And it's all nonsense. Nonsense. But it's sold.
Hello Kitty, I feel like
sold
is
like fucking crazy.
I mean, it's kind of analogous, I guess, to like the Lisa Frank thing, but Hello Kitty is like a global brand. I feel like most people around the world know about Hello Kitty. It's a huge brand.
And it's fucking fluff. Just cute little characters.
But that's people like that though.
That's what they bought.
People like that though.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's always going to be a market in something that's just fun and colorful and fantasy.
Kind of nonsensical.
Well, yeah, like a kind of an escapism. Yeah. Like there's always going to be a market in that.
Yeah, they made a cartoon and she didn't like it because the cartoon of the Hello Kitty cartoon had a mouth, and she goes like, "No, Kitty doesn't have a mouth.
Kitty doesn't.
There's no mouth."
Yeah.
And like, well, how does she talk? There's no mouth.
It's like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
It's a cartoon cat.
But
Chill.
they had to put a mouth on it for the cartoons for some reason.
Well, she had to talk in the cartoons. So.
Yeah. They never did, but they didn't. They put the mouth in it, didn't they?
Well, in the cartoon, because she talked.
Yeah.
But in the artwork,
they never should have had a mouth talking on it.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like the same character.
No.
They should just made the head bounce.
I mean, that's how I would have done it.
Yeah.
She doesn't need a mouth.
Yeah.
You can say because she's communicating telepathically.
She's telepathic. How does she talk? She doesn't have a mouth. You're fucking overthinking it.
You can just hear it in your head.
Yeah. It's a minimalist.
Like I said, it's a cartoon cat.
What made
Calm down.
Sanrio products so cute is that they were minimalist.
Yeah.
They didn't have. Some of them didn't have mouths. Yeah.
Well, and you immediately understood what that was.
Yeah.
Like everybody pretty much in the world would think that was cute.
Yeah.
It's just everybody understands it.
Yeah.
You know, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
It's hard to get right though.
Yeah.
It's like I know that because I'm a graphic designer, I'm more on the maximalist end, not like Lisa Frank's maximalist, but but I like Baroque kind of shit. And I know that like for the last few years, the main trend, not the only trend, but the main trend's been minimalism, right? It's like people like really, really minimalist. And I'm not a fan of that. It almost seems like cheating because it seems like easy. But it's not easy. It's actually not easy to do minimalism right. It's just kind of like anything else. You have to know exactly how to do it or it doesn't work.
Erica says she loves Hello Kitty.
Yeah.
All right. If you go on, I think it's on Netflix or Amazon. There's a series called the toys.
The Toys That Made Us.
The Toys That Made Us.
And there's a whole Hello Kitty.
And
or a whole Sanrio episode.
One of the episodes is Sanrio. Yeah. And she's on
And I'm
that.
sure I feel like a lot of people have seen that show, but that's a great show.
I love that show.
They ought to do a Lisa Frank one, actually.
Yeah.
Especially after the Amazon
and
one.
they'll talk about everybody who made all these damn toys and what they were thinking.
It kind
at
of
the
makes
time.
me want to watch it again, like the whole series.
I'd love to see it again.
Like we could watch that again.
Who made all the He-Man toys, the Star Wars toys, what they were thinking
Yeah,
at
Teenage
the time.
Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
G.I. Joe, Barbie.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like Legos.
The wrestling
toys. Like there was just like it was just so good.
Yeah, and they told the show is fucking talks about the dudes that were designing it and why it happened. He-Man happened because they gave him a fucking shitty ass toy of a fucking of a tiger.
A green tiger.
It wasn't even. It was a yellow tiger.
Actually, yeah, it was.
It was a yellow tiger. It says this bombed, and he goes, "I'm just gonna paint it green and put orange stripes on it, and we'll put a saddle on it, and we'll have a dude riding a saddle like a Conan."
They're like, right?
Yeah, that'll
like,
work. Who is he? He's a man. He's a he-man. He's a manly man. Well, they had another dude involved in and he was a little guy. He's gonna be manly. Because your mom's always telling you can't do shit. And little boys are like, no, I want to do shit. I have the power. The mom's got the power, but I have the power. That's He-Man. I'm going to be a man. So there was a thought process
Fair to them. It
behind
worked like
all
gangbusters.
that shit. And those dudes made millions of dollars, and they were geniuses.
And the cartoon was based on the toy, not the other way.
The cartoon was based on a toy. They says, well, what movie is this to? Oh, no, it's a comic book. No, it's a we're coming out with a fucking cartoon. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll buy it. Oh shit, we gotta go make a cartoon.
Yeah, now we gotta make a cartoon.
Yeah,
they made the toys first, and then they made the cartoon.
He-Man happened because of a fucking of a toy tiger.
Yeah,
Just sell this. That's what they told him.
It's just one of those little things that just like
boom, and it wasn't articulated or anything. You go sell this. Fuck, how am I gonna sell that? Put a saddle on it.
Like, hey, there you go.
Make it green.
It works.
Yeah. Put a dude riding on it.
It works.
That's where He-Man came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was and they made fucking tens of millions of dollars on it. Yeah.
Yeah, people love that He-Man shit. We had Castle Grayskull and everything. My brother had it.
Yeah.
Had Castle Grayskull.
All by creativity, man. You can't beat creativity.
Yeah, I mean,
AI could never come up with that shit.
well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's like people make money and shit like that, but people forget there's like nerds like us, creative people that come up with these ideas that the bean counters don't ever come up with.
Yeah,
they just take advantage.
Erica, I think Sailor Moon might be in there too. Wasn't there one about Sailor Moon? Or was that another episode?
There?
I thought there was.
I can't remember. There's been a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
There might have been a Sailor Moon one, but I don't. Because it was mostly based around toys, so it wasn't really based around...
Well, I thought they had...
Well, they do have Sailor Moon toys, but I kind of feel like that wasn't...
It was called The Toys That Made Us.
Yeah. I remember there was a Transformers one. There was a My Little Pony one.
Yeah.
It was like iconic toys. Like,
Micronauts.
I think there was a Legos one.
Micronauts.
Um...
Yeah, Legos.
Barbie, G.I. Joe, He-Man.
Barbie was based on a German hooker doll.
It was.
Her name was Lily.
Yeah.
And she was like a Barbie doll. But
they brought it back from Germany.
But
and
she
were
was
like,
gothed out.
let's make one like
black.
this, but wholesome.
she was a little black bob and fucking high eyebrows, and she was a call girl. And dudes, and a lot of German girls were call girls back then, and you could give your favorite call girl a fucking Lily doll, because they were regulars.
Yeah.
And somebody brought one of those back, and a woman saw it, and goes, that's a great doll. I'm going to make an American version of that, and that became Barbie.
Yep.
German hookers.
Well, yeah, you have to think that, like, back then, they didn't have, like, a realistic woman doll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was, because they were, like, usually, like, baby dolls.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have a doll that was, like, an actual woman with, like, I mean, I know her proportions are a little weird, but it's, like, that had, like, tits and everything like that.
Yeah, and the original boy doll was G.I. Joe, and they called it an action figure. You couldn't call it a doll.
Even though it totally wasn't.
It was an action figure.
It was a doll at first, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it was
action
big.
figure.
It was, like, a big doll.
Yeah, I had with the big ones.
Yeah.
It became little later in the 80s.
Yeah, later they made them, like, the little action figures, but they started out as, like, big.
But they called it an action figure back then, and it was military.
What are they, 13 inches or whatever they are?
They were too in a way, they were too big to play with.
Yeah, that's why the smaller ones were like a big hit.
Yeah.
Tasha says, Gem was a toy first too. Yeah, Gem and the holograms. I remember that.
Yeah.
The hilarious thing to me was that the rival band in Gem and the holograms was called the Misfits. I'm like, do they know that there's already a band called the Misfits?
They had to have known.
That are not girls?
Yeah.
I did watch that show.
They're lucky they didn't get sued.
Yeah,
they would have lost the suit though, because it was a girl band.
Yeah, I'm like, no one's gonna confuse Gem and the holograms Misfits with the actual Misfits. Yeah. They didn't sound anything the same. But yeah, so they tried, like I said, to kind of go like in a little bit more of the direction, like a Bratz doll kind of direction, and that didn't really work out. However, right around 2013. There did seem to be like a little bit of an uptick, because right around this time, I feel like starting in about 2010 and a few years afterward, there was a huge boom in 90s nostalgia. And because like a lot of kids that had grown up in the 90s like remembered Lisa Frank fondly and didn't know about any of this stuff back then. So Lisa Frank, the company, which is now just Lisa Frank, James is gone. They don't have many employees left, but they think, well, they're not really producing any new stuff because they don't have the staff for it. So most of their money is coming from licensing agreements. So they're getting into like partnerships, with different retailers. So one of the ones that they did was Urban Outfitters, which was fairly successful. I think they did a line of T-shirts with some of their classic artwork on it, and like some of their stationery and things like that from back in the day. And I think all of the shit sold out, like the entire line sold out. So like I said, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. So it did really well. I think they still do, I don't know if they still do this nowadays, but they did like Christmas ornaments and calendars and stuff like that with Lisa Frank art on it. So it was a moneymaker, but I don't think that partnership like continued all that long. What Zach was talking about earlier, and they talked about this extensively in the documentary, was their infamous partnership with a company called Glamour Dolls. This happened in 2016, 2017. Now, Glamour Dolls was a smaller indie company owned by it was like a woman and her friend. And it was, vegan, cruelty-free, like this cool, like makeup line, you know what I mean? They're like a smaller indie independent company. And the woman who owned it had been a big Lisa Frank. She was a 90s kid, so she was like a real big Lisa Frank fan. And she's like, man, I wonder if they're still around. Wouldn't it be neat if we did a makeup line that was based on that aesthetic or like based on their artwork? So they called them up, and to their surprise, the business was still around, although they didn't really have that many employees, which they thought was kind of funny. So they're just like, well, hey, do you want to go into partnership? Like, can we get licensing for your stuff? And, they said that was fine. So what they did was they started a Kickstarter campaign saying, we want to do a line of cosmetics based around Lisa Frank's artwork. And they had all these really cool ideas, like around all these cosmetic brushes with their artwork on the handle. And they had this really cool eyeshadow palette that was in like a little trapper keeper, like the little trapper keeper they used to do back in the 80s and 90s with the pandas and shit on it. Was it a panda or a cat? I can't remember. But it was like their classic, trapper keeper. It was really cool because she showed like a prototype of it. And this little company, which really was like two people, they were super jacked, and they raised a lot of money. Like they raised almost $400,000 like on the Kickstarter. And so many people, I even saw like people back in like cosmetic YouTubers and stuff like that, like made videos about it, how fucking jacked they were about this collaboration, that there was going to be like new Lisa Frank stuff with like this cool little like cosmetic brand, and it was going to be really awesome. So they made all this money. But it didn't really go too well. So what ended up happening, and like I said, Lisa Frank was not on the documentary to defend herself. However, both of the owners of Glamour Dolls were. And they said basically what happened, it's like, look, we were naive. We were a very small business. We had, some success. They were very, getting up there. They were doing really well. And the one guy said he was just like, basically like doing this collaboration with Lisa Frank, like ruined our lives. Like, it made the business go under, and we probably shouldn't have done it. But, at the time it seemed like a good idea. So he's like, what ended up happening was we had all these ideas. We were raising all this money. Lisa Frank actually came with us to the Kickstarter offices for the meeting, and like we explained what we wanted to do and all the products we were going to do. And, you guys know how Kickstarter works. Like you raise money, and all of your backers, however much, whatever tier you're on, you get stuff. So it's just kind of like, hey, if you give us $10, you get, this brush with this cool Lisa Frank art on it. Or, if you gave like a lot more money, like you get like a whole suite of stuff. And so they said the problem arose because Lisa Frank was being a real pain about approving the designs. Like they would do a prototype, they would show her the stuff, and then she'd be like, well, I don't know if I like that. Let's change this. Let's change that. And then like she would like ghost them and like wouldn't really tell them that it was approved, right? So they couldn't really, send it. Like they couldn't really do anything with it. And she also started demanding licensing fees and fees for like renewing the contract every year, which they didn't know at the time because, like I said, they were a very small business. They had never really done this before. They didn't realize that the fees she was asking for were like 3 or 4 times higher than what would be standard in the industry. So she was basically like asking them for all this money. Like I need $125,000 like every quarter, like for you to use my artwork and all this other kind of shit. And they didn't know any better. So they were kind of like, okay. But then she kept coming back with all these demands. She would like drag her feet on approving the designs. Like they had promised, one of the things they had promised was actually this pretty cool looking like a vegan leather cosmetic bag, which was like super colorful and had a unicorn on it. It was like, and it had like this colored zipper and all this other shit. And so they had like one prototype and they were going to put it into production. And she's like, well, can't we just make it plastic? And she's like, yeah, but we already promised everybody that it was going to be vinyl or it was going to look like this. And she wanted to like cheap out on it. And, they didn't want to do that. And they're like, that's not what we said. And all this other kind of shit. And then she started saying, well, you're voiding the agreement. And then later on, Lisa Frank came out and said that she didn't know anything about the Kickstarter or she didn't approve it. And they said that's bullshit because she even posted on our Kickstarter page. And she posted it on her own social media like about it. and she was involved. She came with them to the Kickstarter offices when they were first, going to launch it. It's like, so she was involved from the beginning, but then later on she tried to make it seem like she wasn't. One of the most egregious things, for some reason, this just blew my mind a little bit. So the guy is saying, the guy from Glamour Dolls, he's like, so Lisa says to us that she wants to do a business trip to Greece. And this guy was, Greek. His family was Greek. And he's like, well, I want to take my son, Forrest, to Greece, like, for this big trip. And you can come, you can show us around because you've been there and your family's from there. And, like, you can speak the language and we can't. So you can be our translator. It'll be a business trip. And so she basically scammed this dude into funding a vacation for her and her son in Greece under the guise of it being a business trip. And he kind of was like, okay, but he's like, we didn't do any business over there. She was basically just like doing vacation shit with her son.
Yeah.
And he paid for it. Like him and the money that they had raised through Kickstarter. Like we ended up paying for her to take her fucking son on vacation to Greece. And I was like driving them around and like translating for them and all this other kind of shit. And I was like, wow, that's super entitled.
Did they get anything out of it?
No.
They didn't cut a deal?
No. And that's the thing. He's like, we didn't do any business over there. And because she, like I said, this is from their point of view. They're like, because she took so long to approve any designs, we had promised all of the Kickstarter backers that we were going to get all their shit out by, I think it was September 2017. And it's like, we couldn't do that. Like a couple people did get stuff, but then like people started getting stuff in Ipsy bags, which I used to have it. It's, you pay like $10 a month. And every month they send you this little bag with like just random like different makeup samples in it. And sometimes it's expensive shit. Sometimes, and some people were getting the Glamour Dolls, Lisa Frank stuff like in the Ipsy bags before the backers were even getting stuff. And people were like, what the fuck is going on? Like we paid like $50, $75, like investing in this, and we didn't get anything. And they're getting really pissed off.
Just really poor business practices.
Well, and Lisa Frank was kind of blaming it on them. And they were just kind of like, but she wasn't approving any of the designs. Like, we would just be like, hey, we need to get this into production. Like, you need to approve this. And she just wasn't doing it. And then she just kept asking them for more and more money, for more licensing fees. And then she kind of came out and said, well, you're not doing what I want. And so she terminated the agreement. And they still owed her all this money. And basically it ruined their reputation. Because a lot of people, until they knew the whole story, were kind of blaming them.
Right.
And they're like, it wasn't us. Like, she was kind of fucking us over.
She didn't want to go back to work. She just wanted to scam.
Yeah, and it seemed like she was just trying to scam money out of them.
She probably has a bunch of money stashed.
And I think the dude said it's like, I think she got like $400,000 out of them, maybe more.
Well, she might have a few million squirreled away.
I'm sure she probably does.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think that was like, and it just made me really sad for them because it's like they were so jacked to get her as a collaborator because, the woman that owned the business was a big fan.
I saw
and
that.
And she's like, this was, that poor woman ended up filing for bankruptcy. She was broke.
I saw that. I saw the art. You could take all that art and fucking just upload it into into an AI program. Say make stuff like this, and just keep pressing a button and make shit like that over and over. And Lisa
Frank seems aware of that because anytime you come out with something that's similar, she'll try and sue.
Yeah, she'll make a living off of that.
And like I said, and because some other smaller creators that were selling stuff on Redbubble or something, they said, man, if you make a pair of leggings with like a unicorn or a rainbow on it,
she's coming after
like she'll try and come after you. Like it's like she doesn't own fucking unicorns or rainbows or nothing like that. If you're not using her licensed artwork, like you can do stuff in that style. Yeah, if it's really similar. Yeah, I can see doing it if you're using her actual artwork. But if you're just making shit with rainbows on it, like I said, she can't copyright a fucking rainbow.
There weren't any copyrighted characters in any of the fucking shit that I saw.
Well, some of them were. Like, I think like some of the dolphins and she has a look.
Okay.
But
were they copyrighted characters?
Well, some of them did have names, so I think they were.
Okay, all right.
Because I know a couple of the lion cubs, I think, were named after her kids.
All right.
And like, so she did have like characters like the pandas and stuff.
Okay.
And the kitties, but it's just kind of like, so if you do something that looked exactly like that or super similar, yeah, I could see why you would sue. That's your IP.
Yeah.
But if you're just going after smaller creators that are just making shit on Etsy or Redbubble or whatever, and just saying, oh, you put a unicorn on there, or oh, you put a rainbow on there, it's like, fuck off. It's like,
yeah, everybody draws those.
Everybody draws unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah.
You don't have like fucking...
It's not the same as putting Superman on there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not really the same. Like, yeah, if you put that exact panda on there, yeah, that's different. But she's kind of... Seems like she's kind of going after people with like rainbows and stuff. So yeah, so I kind of feel like Glamour Dolls kind of got... I mean, they went bankrupt, obviously, because they had to pay her all these licensing fees, and then she backed out. And it just, and everybody kind of blamed them for all the Kickstarter backers, like, not getting their stuff. So Glamour Dolls did actually end up suing her. I think a couple of the cases were dismissed, but I think a couple of them are still ongoing as far as I know. Now, she did do a collaboration with another bigger cosmetic company called Morphe, which...
Morphine?
Morphe.
Morphe.
Just with an E at the end.
All right.
Which was bigger than Glamour Dolls. And kind of, you know. So I feel like maybe she saw an opportunity. It's like, oh, this company's bigger. And so maybe that's why she backed out of the other one and like fucked them. I'm not really sure. The timing seems kind of suspicious. And I will say that the collaboration she did with Morphe, which ended up being more successful, they ended up putting out an eyeshadow palette in the Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper, just like Glamour Dolls had designed. They had made the prototype and showed it to her. And that never got made because she didn't approve it. But when she did a collaboration with another company, they put one out that was like exactly the same. So, a little fishy. I think there was some lawsuits going on there too. And they went into this quite a bit too on the documentary. This happened in 2019. There's an artist in LA who was also like on Instagram, an influencer. Her name is Amina Mucciolo, I think is how you pronounce her last name. She's also known as Tassel Fairy. And what they had done was in their apartment, they were really into like Hello Kitty, My Little Pony, Lisa Frank and stuff too, but really colorful rainbow kind of stuff. And they had done their apartment, they called it Cloudland. And they had painted it all in these rainbow colors. It was pretty cool looking, actually. There was pictures of it. And they posted it on Instagram, you know, and people seeing pictures of it. Super cool. And Lisa Frank started following the Tassel Fairy account and even commented on some of the pictures about the apartment, like how cool it looked. Like, yeah, that's really cool, like carrying on the aesthetic or whatever. And not too long after Lisa Frank started following this account, the Tassel Fairy account, Lisa Frank Incorporated partnered with Hotels.com and created a pop-up Lisa Frank flat, like an apartment. Coincidentally, this apartment was right in a building right across the street from Tassel Fairy's place, and it was owned by the same landlord. And when the apartment was decorated and shown, it was pretty similar to what Tassel Fairy had done, particularly the kitchen. Like, some of it you could just say, oh, it's rainbows and stuff, but the kitchen looked almost exactly the same. And Tassel Fairy was a little pissed because they're like, look, you saw pictures of my kitchen, you saw pictures of my apartment, you saw the, you know, because they have like a bunch of followers and stuff. You followed my account, you saw these pictures, and then you like put a pop-up apartment there with almost the same design in it and trying to get people. And then the landlord evicted Tassel Fairy.
For what?
Because they're not sure. They said, oh, non-payment of rent. And they said, it's like, look, we were late on our rent a couple times, but we always paid it and they were always cool with it. But after that happened, they just kicked us out. And they don't know if it's just because they didn't want the competition because of the Lisa Frank thing, because there was a lot of publicity about it, or what? Or because they were making a stink about, hey, you stole my aesthetic or you stole my idea.
What were they going to do with these apartments?
This one was just kind of like it was hotels.com, so they were trying to get, it was, I guess it was like an Airbnb like situation. An Airbnb, right. Like it was a specialty.
You could rent it.
Like you could rent it.
You're right.
And the fact that the interior design looked almost exactly like Tassel Fairy's place, especially, like I said, the kitchen, if you see the pictures, was really, and a lot of people were kind of pissed off about that. Especially the fact that it was right across the street and it was owned by the same person, like the same landlord owned both buildings. So they thought that was like, and Amina, the artist, they said, they're like, it was so similar that people were contacting me and asking me if I had designed it because it looked so much like my house.
Right.
But they're and they're like, that's the dumb thing. It's like, well, they could have called me.
Right.
And said, hey, if you liked my design work so much, why didn't they just ask me to design it? Like, right. To do a collaboration. But they didn't do that. It seemed like they just kind of stole
the
idea.
They didn't want to pay that extra $2,000-$3,000.
Yeah. And, yeah, so they were really pissed about it. And a lot of people got pissed off about that. You know what I mean? And rightfully so. Because that's pretty shitty. So it seems like, allegedly, that what Lisa Frank is doing now, because they're not manufacturing anything anymore, like they used to, like the school supplies and all that, and now they're just doing licensing or collaboration deals with like bigger brands, which, fine, you can make a lot of money doing that, but it seems like, at least in a couple situations, it seemed like she's partnering with like these smaller brands, which are like super excited that remember her because of all the nostalgia and everything. And then it seems like she's kind of maybe allegedly fucking them over. Which, not great.
Sounds like it.
And also, they didn't really go into this much in the documentary, but I thought this was very funny. So they did a little bit go into James Green and his son Hunter, and they're kind of in business together. They didn't really say in the documentary, like they said, he sells his artwork on, on t-shirts and stuff. What they didn't say is that he, I believe he was Jewish before, but he converted to Christianity, became a big ass Jesus freak. So all his company now is Jesus-y stuff. And he has a website, JamesChristianMan.com.
Okay. Christian Man?
JamesChristianMan.com, I think is the website. And he sells t-shirts with his, like I said, he is a good artist, like a good illustrator. They didn't really go into how Jesus-y his stuff is now though. But yeah, so it's all a Christian-y company. And like his former employees think that is hilarious. And this is a direct quote from one of his former employees. James did not seem like he gave a fuck about God or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's like, there was that South Park episode with Faith Plus One where Cartman started a Christian boy band just to take advantage of people. Yeah. That's kind of what his new business feels like.
All right.
That's what one of his employees said.
Okay.
So yeah, so he founded a company called Salvation LLC. And that was like not long after he got kicked out of Lisa Frank. And old Rhonda is his VP. I don't know if she still is or not. She might be retired now. Like I said, in the documentary, which was from 2024, I mean, she was pretty old. I think she's retired at this stage. But yeah, so he has like all these t-shirts that he did, and he's registered a bunch of trademarks. And one of the trademarks that he's registered was Blame James. And they showed on the documentary, he has a tattoo on his forearm that says Blame James on it.
Who's he talking about?
Oh, it's like, every time something goes wrong, everybody blame James. And I was like,
blaming him.
So he's crying victim now too. I was like, that's what I mean.
James.
Yeah, he's James.
Yeah.
So,
Ridiculous.
but so he not only has that tattoo on his forearm, which I was like, oh my God, that is like fucking, what a fucking douchey move that is. Oh my God, everyone, I'm such a terrible person, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, he comes across like a real douche. Like, he's obviously kind of a jerk and a bully, but he also kind of comes like, oh, poor me, I'm such a victim. Like, everyone's picking on me like that. And, I hate that kind of kind of person. So he has that tattoo on his forearm, but he also has that registered as a trademark and like sells stuff with that on it. So I was just kind of like, okay. So as I mentioned, and like I said, I don't know any of these people. I'm just speculating. And in the documentary, he is coming across saying like, it's not me. I helped make Lisa Frank's company, and then she fucked me over. And the older son Hunter backs him up on it. He completely denies that he had a sexual relationship with Rhonda. Rhonda also denies that. She was in the documentary also, as was her husband very briefly. But I'm going to say neither one of them seem like great people, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just rumors. I don't know.
Erica asked a good question.
What's that?
Right there.
If she wants to collab, she can't control everything or take advantage. Like, is she a diva or just dumb? Because she could have so much more money if someone handled her company better. Yeah, that's kind of... I just don't think she's just a great business person.
She's not as smart as you think she is.
She's not great with social... or networking, I guess, is like maybe a weak point. Which, like I said, a lot of artists are not great at that. No shade. It's just that she seems like she had a vision. She knew what she wanted. And when she had to hire other people to do what she wanted, she didn't really know how to deal with that.
Yeah. It's ego, too. I mean, the same thing happens in music with bands. They got to do, he's a great fucking guitar player, but, I'm not going to play with that band. They want me to play with that band. Oh, no. And that band's fucking a rising band or something, you know what I mean? And his band is declining. If he went over there and played with that band over there, he'd probably, have another fucking 15 years of career. But no, he's going to go down with his ship.
Yeah.
Similar to what they're talking about.
You're just getting in your own way.
Yeah, she has something that she could sell, but she'd probably have to collaborate with other people to get it done and maybe revive her brand. But if it's not on her terms, it's not her solo, then no, not going to do it. Probably what it is.
And that's the thing. If you get a reputation of like fucking people over,
then you're not gonna
like no one's gonna work with you. Yeah. Now, I will, to be fair, in the last few years, they have done some successful collaborations. Like she did, Crocs, those ugly ass shoes. Yeah. They did a Lisa Frank Crocs that was pretty successful. They did a collaboration with BTS, that the big Korean, like that boy band that's super famous everywhere.
Burned down the stage.
Yeah, what was that called? Burn the Stage? I don't remember.
Yeah,
we went and saw that.
Saw that shit.
Well, because we had that free.
We had free fucking.
And we were reviewing like 3 movies a week. Remember that? So we just would go and see anything because it was free.
I felt so uncomfortable in that bitch.
I did too.
Me and Jen were the only adults in there. It was all these little kids.
Because it was all like tweens, you know what I mean?
Watching this shit.
It was like the only thing that was left that we hadn't seen.
Burn down the stage or something.
Yeah, I don't remember.
This Korean boy band.
I mean, yeah, they're fucking massive.
It was a movie about a Korean boy band.
Yeah, it was like a documentary.
Like a documentary.
And
shit was lame, man.
It was pretty lame. But like I said, it's that's what some kids are into, and it's like I watched documentaries about bands I liked when I was in the 80s, and it's like it was kind of similar.
Korean boy bands
and probably older people thought that was lame too.
Korean boy bands and Japanese fucking hosts from those host bars, more like you're watching a bunch of pretty lesbians. That's what it's like. It's like a bunch of pretty and they're just they love these dudes. And I'm just like,
yeah, I mean, well, like I said, I never wanted to be like my grandpa.
Pretty lesbians. Yeah.
Where,
yeah, looking at Duran going.
Yeah, like I was like, God, please don't let me ever be like that. So I'm very, very wary.
Yeah.
Of saying shit like that, because it's like, look, I'm not a kid.
That's kind of what it was, though.
I'm not a kid.
That's kind of what it was, though.
And you know what I mean? Kids like different shit than me. I'm old now. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, I don't want to be like my grandpa was.
Yeah.
Look at them. They're all gay.
Yeah.
Like back in the 80s.
Those dudes weren't gay. I could tell that.
Duran wasn't gay.
No, I could tell those.
Some of them were. Like Boy George was obviously gay, but
No, I could tell the Korean dudes weren't gay. I was just saying that they were pretending to be lesbians. They're pretending to be really pretty.
Well, they know their fucking audience.
They know the audience, and the little girls are fucking.
The chicks love that.
Yeah, the little girls were fucking loving that shit. But
yeah.
They were fake pretty lesbians.
Like I said, they knew what their audience.
Got nothing against a pretty lesbian.
They know what their audience was.
Yeah.
So I do kind of feel like Lisa Frank Inc. is still around. I don't know. Obviously, they're not making $60 million a year like they used to. Yeah. Maybe $2-3 million, which is still good. I mean, it's not terrible. But it's all from like licensing and collaboration. They're not actually making products of their own as far as I know anymore. It's usually like, I think they did some shit with Reebok. So they're collaborating with like bigger brands, like to do a Lisa Frank edition of whatever. And it is selling because 90s nostalgia is still pretty big. And a lot of people remember her fondly, especially people that don't know about like what a toxic work environment that was. But, you know, so it remains to be seen. Like I said, on the documentary, which came out, you know, a year or two ago, she did not want to participate. Basically, she just gave like a little bullshit paragraph statement. It's like, oh, the best is yet to come. Or no, she said the best has yet to come. And I'm just like, that's not even grammatically correct, but whatever. So she was just trying to keep it positive and she didn't want to say anything, which, you know, like I said, fair enough. She's always been very reclusive, even when she was younger. And she's become even more reclusive now that she's an older woman. A lot of the former employees said that's probably because she was always very, like, not vain exactly, but, you know, very worried about her image and stuff. And it's like, now that she's older, you know, she might not look as good as she used to or whatever. And it's like, she doesn't want anybody to see her. So she kind of tries to keep to herself. But they're still making money. They're still around. The brand is still successful, even though, like, at least on the nostalgia circuit, even though obviously it's not as ubiquitous as it was back in the 80s and 90s. But honestly, probably the Amazon Prime documentary probably helped it, because people were like, oh man, Lisa Frank, I forgot all about that. And like probably went back and looked it all up over again. You know what I mean? Yeah. Erica says she should just sell and retire. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I don't really get... One thing I don't get about rich people. Yeah. Like, I guess because I'm not that egotistical, but it's like rich people, sometimes it's like they'll make a lot of money in a business and then they'll be... You could just sell it and just do whatever you wanted the rest of your life and not even fuck with it or worry about it, which is exactly what I would do.
They'd probably give her $1 million for
But some of them... like, just keep going and they just want more and more and more and more money and more power and more. I'm just like, why don't you just, like, fucking relax?
I guarantee
you don't have to do a single other thing for the rest of your life except lay on a beach.
Yeah, she's got to be in her late 60s by now.
Probably.
And fucking...
She was born in 1955, so she's 70...
70-something, yeah.
Because my mom was born in 1954, so she's a year younger than my mom.
No, all she'd have to do is... She could probably sell that for $1 million. And
At least.
And she probably already has a couple million.
Probably more than that.
Right.
I would think.
I just let it go. Give it to somebody else. Nobody really knows who she is or gives a shit anyway. Fucking, she's
people remember the brand.
They remember that brand.
I think a lot of people, even people that loved the brand, didn't realize that that was an actual person behind it. I thought it was
like Aunt Jemima. There was no Aunt Jemima.
Like obviously.
Yeah.
You know, like some of the ones behind, or what? Betty Crocker was fake too, wasn't she? Or was that? Wait, was she a real person?
No, I think she was fake.
I think some of them were real, and some of Betty Crocker, I think, was fake. Yeah. Little Debbie was a real person.
Yeah, but she didn't own it.
But she didn't own it. Obviously, that was like somebody's kid or grandkid.
Yeah,
or something.
The dad owned it.
Yeah, and they just named it after their daughter. So some of them were real people, but yeah, like Aunt Jemima, Betty Crocker, those are fake people. But Lisa Frank is a real person.
Strangely, Chef Boyardee was a fucking real
Chef Boyardee was also a real person.
He was real, yeah.
It wasn't spelled the same. Right. It was spelled the Italian way.
It was Boyardee.
Boyardee
was his name, yeah.
Was his actual name. But yeah, he was actually like a guy that he came from Italy and like started selling. Didn't he worked at a restaurant and then he started selling tomato sauce like on the side, like to his customers or something.
Yeah, canned tomato sauce. And then they started putting pasta in it.
That was on Yeah, that was that show that was on the History Channel that was like, was it The Foods That Made Us or something like that? But they did a whole show about Chef Boyardee. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, but he was a legit dude. He was a real dude.
Early 1900s.
Yeah. Which is like, it's funny. I never thought that was a real person either, but it is.
He was a very influential Italian.
It is a real person.
Italian-American chef that showed up here and had his own restaurants and fucking, he was he was one of the first celebrity chefs.
Yeah.
That America had.
Yeah. And one of the first to be like, I'm going to sell you this tomato so you can make my stuff at home. Yeah. Kind of thing.
And fuck, tomato sauce? Shit. Spaghetti? Fuck, that's some foreign exotic shit, man.
Back then it was.
Yeah, back then it was. Yeah.
Which is so funny.
It's got something called oregano in it. Wow.
I think when I was a kid, I didn't realize that was a real person.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Uncle Ben or something.
Yeah.
Although Uncle Ben wasn't a real person.
No, I don't think Uncle Ben was.
That Uncle Ben Rice.
I don't think so.
I don't know if it was based on a real dude. I can't remember. I'd have to look that up. But yeah, it's like all those corporate mascots. It's like pretty funny. All right, so I guess we're gonna wrap it up for this evening because it's almost 11 p.m.
Yep.
Getting pretty late, and I kind of wanted to watch something before I go to sleep because you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Like I said, a little bit of a, I don't know if it was a weird topic, but I don't know. I kind of, again, went down a rabbit hole and found it very fascinating. So hopefully you guys did too. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this evening. Thank you for your super chats. Have a good day tomorrow. We'll probably be back for the sidetrack show at the regular time on Friday night. Like I said, we're going to one of the Disney parks on Friday.
Yeah.
So we'll probably be back before showtime. But if we're not, like, I'll tell everybody, like, if we're going to go on later or whatever. I don't, because like I said, we're going fairly early in the morning. So we're not going to be there, like, all night or anything. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep everybody informed. But hopefully we will see you guys again on Friday night for the sidetrack show. So yeah, have a good one, you guys. And we will probably see you again on Friday night.